everybody, today we are debating whether or not the Earth is flat, and we are starting right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for another epic debate as we have two experienced debaters here to debate the shape of the Earth. Very exciting stuff, and also want to let you know, if it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button as we've got a lot more debates coming up, including tonight, right after this debate, at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, we are going to have Skylar Fiction and John Maddox debating whether or not pot should be legal. Very exciting. Also, want to let you know, folks, if you happen to have a question during this debate today, feel free to fire that question into the old live chat. I will look for it. If you can tag me with an @ModernDayDebate, that'll make it a little bit easier for me to for sure not miss it. And then we'll try to read through as many as we can at the end of the debate. Also, it's going to be a quick and basic kind of format. So basically, quick opening statements of roughly 10 minutes from each speaker, followed by open conversation and Q&A. So with that, want to let you know we are very excited that both of these gentlemen are here. As we had said, experienced debaters. I think you're going to enjoy it. And as you are enjoying it, I would say, hey, consider looking in that description box for their links. So that way, as you're enjoying what you're hearing, you can hear plenty more where it came from at these guys' channels. So with that, given that we have had the Flat Earther typically go first, PlaneTruth, if you would like to get the ball rolling, the ball, or I should say, the floor is all yours for your opening statement. But thanks so much, both of you gentlemen, for being here today.
Thanks for having us, James. Yeah, you have my opening statement there. If you want to open it and play it, that'll be it. And then you can continue on after that. So it should be about 10 minutes.
Gotcha. All right. So let me make sure the volume is working on here. I will switch it over. And audience, if you can do me a favor, let me know if you can't hear this video that I play. Actually, does it have sound on this video?
Yes.
Okay.
It is insane. It is insanity to believe that we live in the world with which we've been presented. That world has no clothes, and if you are enamored with the impossibility of the garb of pseudoscience, you are simply mad as a hatter.
I can't hear anything.
That world is stark raving
here
naked.
Something that sounds like
and the
it's in a tin
smallest
can.
child knows this. He's the one with the accusing finger and shrill voice.
I can just watch it on the stream, it's fine.
Down masses. While they stupidly ejaculate adulations for mind-screwing pseudoscience, La La Land, shout out to SE Montreal, pretender clothes, praise R, hail G, long live the vacuum. This tiny tot of a voice of reason, sanity, common sense, and bravado decries the helio-nonsensical model has no clothes. The pseudoscientist is naked. My friends, the world in which we live is the world we've never known. In our world, science proves things. In our world, level means horizontal from shore to shore. In our world, down is down and up is up. In our world, straight lines ne'er a curve make. In our world, angular momentum has only one effect: outward. In our world, rivers do not run uphill. In our world, Coriolis is merely an apparent effect and the result of roundabouts. In our world, empirical observations, testable suppositions are provable. In our world, perspective trumps math. In our world, refraction distorts what lies before. In our world, it is a fallacy to assert that shifts disappear from the bottom up due to curvature. What is it that causes objects viewed over distance, either aquatic or terrestrial, to look as though said objects are obscured from the bottom up as a result of going over the curve? Is that the only explanation offered for a variety of subjects viewed, or are there additional effects, or are there alternative explanations? It is commonplace anymore to hear or even say, I've watched ships go over the curvature of the Earth. In fact, it is said, legend has it, Aristotle himself claimed to see ships go over the horizon, or the curve of the Earth. Is this verifiable? Is this second-hand information? How large was this ship? What was the great rhetorician's viewer height? Was he aided by an artificial oculus? Hear this now and never forget it. No human with the unaided eye is able to view with any semblance of acuity a maritime vessel going over the curve. No eye has that kind of resolution. At a certain point in the distance, the perception of the hull and the water becomes blurred and irresolvable with the naked eye. Not only this, but any aid to see farther into the distance will run into the same irresolvable fact. We cannot see as far or as clearly as we might think. But what we do see is right there in front of our eyes. This opening statement will present an alternative explanation to the ubiquitous claim summed up by the alleged astronomer Michelle Fowler.
There are so many proofs that the Earth is round, it's difficult to know where to start. And it's not okay to think that the Earth is flat. This is not a viable argument. One of the things you can see yourself with a pair of binoculars is if you actually go out to a lake and there are boats on that lake, the farther away a boat is, the more the bottom of the boat will disappear and you'll basically just see the mast of the boat. And as a boat goes farther and farther away, the last thing you will see is the very top of the mast of that boat. And that's because the boat is actually going over the horizon that's curved. And that means that as it goes farther and farther away, you see less and less of the bottom of it and more of the top of that. You can see that with binoculars, by an ocean, by a lake. It's really easy. That wouldn't happen if the Earth were flat.
But is there an alternative explanation? I will present an argument with evidence that there is. But first, a preliminary question. If we are engaged in scientific discovery, I have a question for all of the boats over the curve proponents. What alternative explanations were eliminated, that is, tested, in order to arrive at the singular conclusion that boats sailing into the distance, disappearing from the bottom up, do so because they are indeed crossing a physical threshold? I call this the bottom-up fallacy. In my over 18 months of collecting observations of birds, houses, lighthouses, boats, islands, and oil platforms, I can honestly report that I have never observed an object disappearing from the bottom up, let alone going over a curve. What I have observed and presented in my channel's numerous videos is whole objects being distorted, and that with a gradient variation. A gradient variation is the distortion of the observation occurring either in stasis or motion concurrent with its entrance into what I have called the aether band. Everybody drink. The aether band simply refers to the medium through which the observation is being made. Band refers to that micro or macro field of view in which the observation is. For instance, with the Channel Islands, an observation either of the entire archipelago can be made, or one can narrow it down to the natural 40-foot arch or the lighthouse. Aether simply refers to the air and all that constitutes its nature. For example, but not limited to, evaporation, condensation, wind, temperature, air pressure, humidity. Since the aether band is ubiquitous, its gradient is three-dimensional. And the only two variables controlled by the observer are height and distance. It is these two variables which determine how much and when the object will begin to be distorted. It is the aether band alone which determines why the object is distorted. The bottom-up fallacy basically begs the question that the object is disappearing from the bottom up due to physical obstruction. So, it is alleged, we see boats go over the curve and disappear from the bottom up. Therefore, if boats disappear from the bottom up, they are going over the curve of the Earth's horizon. Or, therefore part 2, since the Earth is curved, boats will eventually sail not off the edge, but across the threshold of the horizon and disappear from the bottom up. My alternative explanation for the bottom up fallacy is this. Objects moving into the distance are distorted or obscured by the manifold and diverse effects of the aether band. These effects are all related to refraction and find their expressions at times in the broad category of mirage. For example, inferior, superior, fata morgana, fata brumosa, heat haze, whatever the hell happens out there. It is very simple. You are simply looking into the distance. And what prevents your being able to see farther into the distance is and only and ever will be due to the aether band. Everybody drink.
As a flat earther, I see an oil platform. But if you're a globehead religious zealot, it's not an oil platform. It's a slightly looming, non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of an oil platform from behind the reified edge of an Earth curve based on R value, and a begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator to turn an oil platform that you and I see into an oil platform that's not really there.
Thank you very much for that opening presentation from the PlaneTruth. Oops, one
President
second.
Trump
All right. Next up, thanks so much for that opening statement from the PlaneTruth. We will now switch it over to Fight the Flat Earth for his opening presentation. And the floor is all yours, Fight.
Sorry, yeah, I was just catching up. What was that, 4? Okay. Right. The stance I'm taking here is that I don't have burden of proof. I have scientific consensus behind me, and it's not argument ad populum or anything. It's just a fact. All of science confirms that the Earth is a globe. There isn't any science around flat Earth because flat Earthers don't know how to do science. All flat Earthers have is a misunderstanding of basic physics, or a inability to accept the fact that maths is the only place where proof actually exists. That is just the facts of the universe that we live in, and you can't change them. And it's all explained by the heliocentric model, which has no issues, it has no problems, it explains, it predicts perfectly, as it always should. And there is so many things that can confirm that we live on a rotating globe of circumference of approximately 25,000 miles. So if we are the size that we say we are, and we are rotating at 15 degrees as we say we are, there should be certain effects that you can see. Certain effects like the swing of a pendulum drifting based on the latitude that you are. This is a little video from a guy called Gentleman Physicist who built a homemade plastic pendulum in a local high-rise building, let it swing for a while, and using just the angle of the drift that he actually got, he managed to calculate his latitude on the Earth. This is something I'm trying to repeat myself so I can show my kids how to do it. I just need access to a building that I don't own. But anyway, this is something that anyone could do if they have a high enough thing to make a decent pendulum. And it's evidence that the Earth is rotating because it correlates exactly to your latitude on the Earth. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you'll get a drift in one direction. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you'll get a drift in another direction. And you can measure the drift, and based on some basic maths, you can figure out your latitude on the globe, and it matches, it works every time. So there is no explanation for this effect on the flat Earth. It's something that is explained by the fact we're on a rotating globe. Other things that we should expect is something called the Yotvos effect. It's tied in quite deeply with the Coriolis force. And what the Yotvos effect says is that if you're traveling west to east, then you'll actually reduce your weight, because what you're doing is you're increasing the centrifugal acceleration that the Earth already has. And if you're traveling east to west, you will increase your weight because you're actually reducing the centrifugal force, which in turn increases the perceived gravitational acceleration. Wolfie 6020 tested this. It was tested many times in the 1700s, I think, by Lord Yacht Boss on ships in the Mediterranean, in the Pacific. And the gravity measurements always concluded that the Yacht Boss effect exists. And what Wolfie did was he got a 500-gram test weight, and he tested it before and after he got on the plane to see what it was. And whilst he was on the plane, he then also weighed it to see what it was. And what he found was what matches with the predictions, that the weight was slightly more when you were traveling east to west, and the weight was slightly less when you were traveling west to east, which matches with the math for the rotating globe with the centrifugal acceleration at the specific latitude that he was at. You know, it's an effect that is only explained by the fact we are on a rotating globe. There is no explanation for effects like this on a flat Earth, none at all. You can't get these effects without some kind of interaction with centrifugal acceleration and gravitational acceleration. It's perfectly explained by our model. There is no explanation for it on the globe. Observations near water are tricky because refraction is a thing. Refraction exists. We can calculate what the refraction is quite easily. All you need to do is know the lapse rate, and you can calculate the refraction coefficient using simple equations that are based on real world things like the air pressure of the observer, the temperature of the observer, and the temperature gradient. Using these calculations, you can calculate what kind of refraction that you should see, and you can get a k value which can tell you what the curve, the radius of the curve of the light is. And as long as we have these details, you can actually calculate quite well exactly what you should see when you're close to the water. But there is refraction, and the math can be quite complicated. So instead of using observations that are close to the water where we know they're going to be distorted, use observations that are further away from the water, like this semi-famous observation from Miles Davis, who took an observation at a place in Fife at the top of a hill, Terrapin Law I think it's called, that's 210 meters. This is a still from a video that anyone can go and watch on his channel that actually has him pan over a plaque to say that he is at the height that's 210 meters. And the top of the fourth road bridge, the pillar in the middle is 210 meters. And this gives you an eye level, a base. That is the plane that you're looking over, the 210 meters, right? So those hills in the background present a problem for the flat Earth because those hills are 500 meters plus in elevation above sea level. Now, you can claim perspective and vanishing point as much as you want, because that doesn't really apply here because it's fallen below the eye level. If it was all due to perspective, it would sink into that red line. You would never get something falling below the eye level due to perspective. The only reason that this could happen is if there is a physical curve and those hills that are 500 meters plus in elevation in the distance are starting to show effects of the fact that there is curvature. You can get the topographical maps and actually model this out yourself, and it actually matches the globe prediction exactly of what you should expect to see. So there is no evidence that the Earth is flat. There is only misunderstandings of physics. All the actual evidence, when you scrutinize the evidence, when you pay attention to it, and when you actually maybe try and understand the physics behind the evidence, it all points towards the fact we are on a globe that's rotating. You can't deny that a fiber optic gyro picks up a 15 degree per hour drift. Thank you very much, Bob. 15 degrees per hour. And this is something, again, which isn't explained by a flat Earth. It's only explained by a rotating globe. And the interesting thing that Bob never mentioned on this, because he probably didn't test it for long enough, but a fiber optic gyroscope won't only pick up that 15 degree per hour drift of the Earth on its own axis. It would also pick up a drift of about 1 degree per day on a two-dimensional plane, which represents the Earth's orbit around our star, the sun. There is no reason on the flat Earth why a gyroscope would pick up a 15 degree per hour rotation in 3 axes and a 1 degree per hour per day drift in a 2D plane. It's explained by our model. There is no explanation for the flat Earth. I have scientific consensus on my side. I don't have the burden of proof. I have all the evidence. I have millions and millions of pictures and videos from space that flat earthers will just claim are fake and is NASA brainwashing the youth or whatever nonsense they want to bring up. There is no evidence for the flat earth. It's all misunderstandings of science. Do a college level physics course and you won't think the earth is flat. And I'm done.
Thank you very much. We will now go into the open discussion section. So thanks very much, gentlemen, and the floor is all yours.
Over to you, Mr. Go ahead, PlaneTruth.
Oh, that's right. So sorry, PlaneTruth. I could hear you during Fight's speech. I muted PlaneTruth because we had a little bit of background. But okay,
Come on, Bro Stash, what you got?
All right, thanks. I forgot about the. I had muted my keyboard and forgot that didn't mute Zoom, so I apologize for having that noise.
No problem.
Craig, simply dismissing the burden of proof doesn't mean that you are in King's X. You know, just simply saying I don't have burden of proof because I have scientific consensus. See, I don't have the burden of proof either because the Earth presents itself as stationary and flat. So I have the whole body of the Earth on my side. I have no burden of proof either.
Except you don't understand what burden of proof means, because burden of proof means that you don't have the scientific. If you don't have the scientific consensus, then you do have the burden of proof. The burden of proof does not lie with the globe, because all science presents the Earth as being round, a globe and rotating. So
Okay.
the science behind it is settled. We all know that the Earth is a globe and it's rotating.
Sure.
It's an objective truth. It's a fact. So no, I don't have the burden of proof. It's irrelevant whether I have the burden of proof or not. I don't, and that's the stance I'm going to have. I do this for a laugh now, because this isn't something that is serious to debate, because the objective truth is that the Earth is not flat. So I just do this for laughs. But I can present evidence till the cows come home. I have all the evidence because the evidence is so easy to find, whereas there is no evidence for the flat Earth, only misunderstandings of physics.
So is there any chance that you could produce a citation that states that the burden of proof is eliminated if you have the scientific consensus on your side?
That's literally what the burden of proof is. We don't have the burden of proof.
I don't
when
need
you have the scientific
I don't
consensus.
need you to monologue
But again, it's
Craig.
irrelevant. Like I said, I don't need to
You don't
argue
have a
about the burden of
citation.
proof.
Great.
Again,
have a citation.
like I said, it's irrelevant because we don't need to argue about the burden of proof, because it's an objective fact.
I'm not
that the Earth
arguing
is a
about.
globe.
Hold on.
I'm not
So
arguing.
let's talk about evidence, because there isn't any flat Earth evidence. There is only misunderstandings of physics.
Well, right now you have a claim on the table that the burden of proof is.
Yeah, but I don't care about it. It doesn't matter
Pretty sure
about
I was
the
talking.
burden of proof.
Pretty sure I
Yeah,
was
but
talking.
let's move on to actual evidence and not argue about the burden
No,
of proof.
because the
It
evidence
doesn't
that I'm
matter.
requiring right now, Craig, I'm requiring evidence of you right now to back up your claim that you do not have the burden of proof if science is on your side. Can you produce
Yeah,
any evidence?
again, that's completely irrelevant to the conversation. It doesn't matter, because the objective truth is that the Earth is a globe and it rotates. So I'm just going with that.
So
right?
right. So
I
now
don't
we're
need to
back
bother presenting anything, citations, because that's not what I'm arguing about. I'm not arguing with you about the burden of proof.
That
I'm
was the
arguing
very
with
first
you.
thing you said.
That's the
very first thing you
I'm
said.
saying that I don't have the burden of proof, but it doesn't matter, because that's not what I'm arguing with you about. I don't have it, but it really doesn't matter. What I am arguing with you about is the shape of the Earth. So let's argue about that instead of semantics about whether you think I have the burden of proof or not. You're wrong, because I don't. You have the burden of proof. You're the one making the claim that the Earth is flat.
No,
but it's
hold on.
irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Let's talk about the shape of the
You
Earth.
like the sound of your own voice?
No, I'm just trying to actually get onto the conversation.
No, you're trying
wait for you to
to-
get some
no,
evidence.
you're trying to
Have you got any
overtalk
evidence
me,
that the Earth
so-
is flat? I mean, there isn't any, but you can try and present some.
Sure. Now, again, you've made a claim that I'm trying to get you to provide evidence for. You've stated that you do not have the burden of proof.
No, I don't. Let's move on.
No, okay, but simply because you say that you don't have it doesn't mean you don't have it, Craig.
No, but I don't. It's an objective fact, whether you want to argue it or not.
Okay, well, I don't have to
the burden of proof,
provide.
so-
I don't have to provide any evidence that the Earth.
Well,
is flat.
I didn't say that I'm not going to provide evidence. I said I can provide evidence till the cows come home, because all the evidence presents the Earth as being a
So
globe
I can make
and rotating.
claims. I can make claims and not have to substantiate them with
No,
citations. Okay.
what I want is evidence of the Earth being flat, because I've never seen any, because there isn't any.
Okay.
So have you got any evidence that the Earth is flat? Because there isn't any.
Oh, there isn't any. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
there is only misunderstandings of physics by your side. That's all there is.
Okay. So if let's see, let me try to see if I can do this. If you want to go on to something, oh, here it is. Okay. I'm going to share my screen and go back to the video to see if I can do this the way I was thinking it would be done. I put my video together this way because I wanted to be able to slide it up and down and show different points of discussion. So give me, okay. All right, so Craig, we have here an image of a trolling fishing boat on, now again, I'm not going to try to simply provide a gotcha evidence. What I'm going to try to do is talk through observations and understand your understanding as well, because I think that this can be a healthy dialogue. So I am honestly interested in how you would interpret this data. So right now we have a boat.
So what data?
Oh, so you don't accept pictures as data?
What's a picture? Do you have data alongside it, like refractive index, temperature, pressure, any of that?
I do. So the refractive index of this day is 25. The
25 what?
Whatever the refractive index number is, and then the temperature was 72 degrees. The air was 72 degrees, and the water was 65 degrees. Humidity was 27.7%.
Okay.
And the wind from the south was 7.3 miles an hour.
So how did you calculate the refractive index?
Listen, that's all bullshit. I just gave you all bullshit, okay?
Oh, right, so you don't have any data.
Right,
Cool.
No
worries.
This is data, Craig, because...
No, pics aren't data. If you say you've got data, I'd like to see data.
Yeah. This is an image that is not going to change whether or not I have the data that you are requiring. If I gave you the accurate numbers, we would still have this same image, Craig. I'm just asking you to interact with the image.
And if you gave me the numbers based around what that image is, I could actually do the calculations and show you that's what's expected. But if all you're doing is showing me an image and saying this is an image, that's great. I can show you an image that quite clearly shows that the Earth's a globe so many times, but I could also provide data alongside it.
Yeah. I'm simply asking you to interact with what you're seeing. That's all. I haven't even gotten to ask my question yet.
All right, ask the question then. I mean, you said you had data. I was just asking for the data. That was all.
Okay. Well, I don't accept the fact that you can dismiss an image as part of the data. It is part of the data because you're going to, if I gave you
it
the
can be
numbers,
part of a data set,
okay,
yes.
Okay. It will be part of the data set, which means it's data. It is, okay? It is. Now, my only question is if you were to see this image and you understand what you do about boats, what would you understand is happening in this image? How would you, in this discussion, how would you describe what we're seeing here? What's happening?
I would describe it as a boat appearing to go over an apparent horizon.
Okay, I'm going to push that. Okay, put the pause. So I'm going to play this a little bit because we're going to be able to see that there are inferior mirages that come up right here. We have an inferior mirage, okay, that's cutting this bow in half. And if you go along the vanishing line, which is just right above the water, and then you see that the rest, the stern of the boat will disappear as we play this long. It's going to go in and out of what I call the aether band, which is, you know, basically the refractive zone. Okay. So again, what is it that you think is happening here? What would you say about the water?
I didn't say anything about the water.
Okay, so
I said it appears that the boat is going bottom first, disappearing bottom first over an apparent horizon. That's how it appears.
Okay, and how does that appear to you?
I just described that. You can't see the bottom of the boat.
Okay, so is there, what if there's an alternative explanation for why you can't see the bottom of the boat?
I would need data to determine that.
you have the same, okay, see the same data that we would have. If I gave you the same numbers that you would require to crunch your numbers for what you think will prove the globe, it's going to be the same numbers. And so again, Craig, those two things then would cancel each other out. We still have simply the image.
Sorry, nothing cancels anything out. If I have the data, I could actually do the calculations based on our knowledge of light to produce even a simulation to show what we should see, because there is many different types of refraction and many different types of refractive indexes that can cause lots of different things. Luckily, I've been speaking with one of the world leading experts on refraction, Dr. I actually forget his name for a second. I've got him in the emails. Dr. Young. So I've been speaking with one of the world's leading experts on refraction, Dr. Andrew T. Young, who actually has done years and years and years of study on refraction, and even created simulations of what we should see if the Earth is flat and stuff. So you know,
well, I'd be interested.
But that's the point: is if he has the data of a particular day, if he has the lapse rate of the air, if he has the data that is needed, he can put it into a simulator that he's programmed based on real world observations and tell you what you should be able to see. And there's many times where you should be able to see things like that.
Sure, but again, on a flat Earth, I can explain and describe this image in the same way. Okay, even if we have the same numbers, right? Even if we consider the same lapse rate, everything is going to be the same. Temperature, humidity, all of those details are going to be the same.
Yeah, but there's an issue.
Okay, I'm not done talking, please. It's not going to change the image that we see. So not only do we have a refractive zone here where the boat is mirrored on itself, but also farther in the distance, we have the Anacapa Island, which is mirrored on itself as well. Now, my interpretation of this is that we have a horizontal extension of the water all the way in the distance until it meets the island. And if we wiped away this mirage, which we can't do, but if we could wipe it away, we would be able to see the bottom of the boat. We would also be able to see the rest of the water extending into the distance. So as I've said before in my other discussions and my episodes that I put on my channel, this line is not curvature. It's not obstructing the boat. And then I can
I mean, I can see it obstructing the boat there, but
no, you can see obstruction from the boat, but you're not seeing the water is not the obstruction. Okay.
No. What I'm seeing there is the apparent horizon of the water obstructing the boat, and no amount of twisting how that looks is going to change that fact. And your rhetoric about if you do it on a flat Earth or not, it isn't actually true, because
it is true, Craig.
No,
it's really incorrect. It really is true.
It's really not true. It's really not true, because on a flat Earth, there would be air pressures at certain levels that you'd be able to calculate that on. And actually, the Dr. Young that I was talking about made an entire web page about what you could see if the Earth was flat based on refraction. And no, if the Earth was flat, you would get very different results for refraction than if you look at it on a curved Earth. So no, you do not get the same effect with the same number. Wait, no, I haven't finished. You do not get the same effect with the same numbers, whether it's flat or a globe. You do not. If you have a flat Earth, then you will get different results. And this is undeniable facts.
Okay, so the way that I would use this by way of analogy is, if you and I were to have a competition in building a skyscraper, and you would incorporate G into your equations, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to do that, and I can build just as...
Good job you don't build buildings then, really.
Okay, please don't interrupt me. I'm not going to do that, because I can still build a skyscraper that's going to be sound. Now, that's my point, and I would just like you to consider it, okay? I would just simply like you to consider the fact that I'm saying that even if I gave Andrew Young all of the data, the only thing that would change in his equations is his incorporation of refraction over a curved surface. That doesn't change the image that we see here. Okay,
no, it doesn't change the image that you see there, but it means that that image isn't explainable on a flat Earth.
No, it is explainable, Craig.
It's not.
It's
not if you actually have the data, but you don't have the data, so you don't have anything at all. All you have is a picture, and you can't claim anything about the picture unless you have the data to go alongside it. However, there is one simple thing that we can do about all this. We can just remove that refraction that you have when you're close to the water and do observations that are away from that refraction.
That obviously is going to change the dynamic, of course, but that is a result of the physics of elevation and distance. So
yeah, but also the refractive index will change, and will
of course it will.
The more important thing is the lapse rate will change and be a lot less.
Let me
bring up an image that can demonstrate what I'm.
Let me just finish the point that I was going to try to make, if I can, just real quick. Pretty sure I wasn't finished because so what I'd like you just to consider right now is you can see now the Anacapa Island here behind the boat. Okay, so we not only have what appears to be the horizon, we also have a boat that appears to be obstructed. We also have the Anacapa Island in the distance, and you can see the lighthouse with the keeper's house there next to it, okay? Now, I'd like you just to think about the scale of what we're looking at right now, because the next clip shows another boat that I would feel comfortable saying is roughly the same size as this one, if not bigger. This one is a commercial vessel. The one that we're going to look at is more than likely a personal craft. I would think that it's a yacht. But I would just simply like you to look at the image that you have right here before you. And then as you see the next one come up, look at the difference between what you see the water doing, what you see the size of the boat is, and then when we get to the island, how we see the island. So if you just bear with me, I'll just play this, and then I'll let you go on yours, okay? I just want to make this point. Okay. So clearly this boat is smaller, and I have to zoom into it because it's farther away. Okay. Now, if this had, I'm not sure how good the picture is for you, but you can see the spray here on the bottom left. Okay. There is no miraging going on here like we had with the other boat. The other boat did, in fact, even if you might want to claim that the horizon was obstructing the boat, it doesn't change the fact that there was an inferior mirage there. Here we have high refraction. This boat is distorted. It's not a clear image, but we can clearly see the surface of the water that it's on because the prop and the bow are producing spray. Now, there's
quite a bit of mirroring there, but the same question applies. I need to know the distance to it. I need to know the density of the air. I need to know the temperature. I need to know these things. And no matter how many times you show these observations, it doesn't change the fact that I can explain it all with the heliocentric model. And you can't explain it because you don't have any of the data to explain it.
I don't need the data, even though you say that.
Do.
No, I don't.
You absolutely do need the data.
I absolutely don't need the data.
Because you can't mathematically model it otherwise.
We are not operating on the same standards, Craig. Okay.
Well, you're not operating on high enough standards then. You're not actually asking the question why. Because when you have the data, if you have the data, you can actually do the calculations. You cannot tell me at that distance and everything what type of refraction we're supposed to see because you don't have the data to go alongside it.
All right. So
all you're doing is showing evidence of refraction. Refraction's a thing. I agree.
Okay, listen. This is what happened the last time I was on your show. Excuse me. I am not making the claim that refraction is a thing. I am not trying to predict.
Wait, are you saying refraction isn't a thing?
We did this last week, okay? You're not a stupid person, but you act stupid sometimes, okay?
No, I don't. I understand physics.
Okay, listen. Listen. My argument is not that refraction is a thing.
What's your argument then?
My argument is that the obstruction that we observe when we see buildings or lighthouses or oil platforms, the obstruction that we see is never due to the horizon as a physical obstruction of water.
What's it due to then?
It's due to refraction.
So your argument is refraction's a thing. Well done.
No, okay.
You literally just said that. Your argument is it's refraction.
Okay, listen. There's a difference between saying that refraction is a phenomenon, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying the phenomenon of refraction, whether or not it's an inferior mirage, a superior mirage, a fata morgana, a fata brumosa, or heat index, or whatever else it might be that we want to call a distortion due to refraction, it is the refraction that is blocking the image. That is the distinction.
That's plainly false, because when
It's
you
not
have
plainly false.
No, it is plainly false, because when you actually have the data, you can prove that it's false with maths.
Okay, great. So the only way that this is going to get solved, Craig,
I have give me the data.
Okay, you can do the data. I'll provide you with the image, right? Because this is your requirement.
The image means nothing without the data to go alongside it.
Okay, you pick a day and tell me when you want me to go out, and I'll take pictures. You crunch all the numbers.
Okay, but you're the one that's there, so you would be the one that needs to take the measurements to determine the lapse rate. I can't do that if I'm not there.
Right. So how many people am I going to need to take the lapse rate, Craig?
You can do that yourself. What you need to do is know
okay,
the
so
change
hold on.
in
Let me ask
temperature
you.
over.
Let me ask you a quick question. So if I'm on the Concord Point side of the Chesapeake Bay, and my observation is 9 miles away, how am I going to take the measurement 9 miles away, Craig?
Okay, maybe you can coordinate with someone that's 9 miles away, so you could have two people.
Right.
I mean,
Hold on,
depending on the distance, you need to have different people to do it. I can't do it myself if I'm not there. You're the one taking the images, therefore you're the one that needs to provide the data alongside those images so that they can be actually, falsified and we can actually scrutinize what they mean. Because all you're doing is showing me images,
right?
And
and all you're doing is hand wave dismissing them.
No, I'm not hand wave dismissing it, because what you're saying
again,
is
I haven't been able
false.
to get.
If you have the data,
it's plainly not false. It's plainly not false.
If you have the data, then it does show that you're false, because this is not what you would expect to see on the flat Earth.
Yes, it is exactly what I would expect to see. So let me just finish.
Do you have the data to back that up?
Okay, Craig, it's an observation.
The observation means nothing with data alongside it.
No,
so let's move.
That's your world. That's your world.
No, it's the world. It's physics.
Okay, hold on, just real quick.
How about we move away? How about we move away?
I wasn't able to finish my point again.
You have finished your point.
I haven't.
You don't need.
My point right here was.
Trainer, you don't need to go on and on and on, right?
Hold on. Okay, hold on. I just want you to catch the contrast. If you remember the image previously, the boat that we saw previously was closer to us, larger in our field of view. This boat is farther away. The island,
how far?
The island is absolutely ginormous, whereas before the boat was to scale pretty much even with the island. Okay, now right here, I don't know. I'm pretending. Can you see my mouse if I'm sharing my screen?
Yeah.
You can. Okay, right here is the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you go back to the previous image that we saw, the lighthouse was lower down and much larger. Okay, so there's a whole dynamic here of what is going on with refraction, and I know that you understand that to a certain extent, that refraction is dynamic, but I want you just to be pretty much impressed with the fact that this horizon that we're seeing is not the same distance that we were looking at before. This is a completely different location, and yet it is presenting itself to us as if it is the horizon. And
yes,
this
the current
boat,
horizon.
Okay, this boat, when we could see it in contrast with the sky behind it, was not presented to us in the same way as the previous boat. It was not blocked.
Yeah, because different conditions will have different refraction.
That's correct.
Again, none of this matters without any data to verify what you're seeing, at all. It really means nothing.
Okay,
again, I'm not impressed because I understand the maths behind what we're actually seeing.
Yeah. I know. Okay, look, I know that you understand the maths that it takes to build a skyscraper incorporating G, but that's a fictitious. Build your skyscraper without G, and it's going to work perffically well. Trust me.
How would you calculate the load that certain things can take then without G?
I'm not an engineer, man.
No. You've just made a claim that I could build a skyscraper without having to use G in the calculation.
Yeah.
Then I would need to know how I would calculate certain loads on certain load-bearing structures. How would I do that without using G?
No clue.
Well, you can, is the answer. So your claim that you could build a skyscraper without using G is completely wrong, because that's actually a very important thing to know.
I know, according to your story.
No, not according to my story. According to
your
everything
story.
that's ever built. You can't deny that there is a downward acceleration that exists. That is the most empirical thing that anyone can ever do. There is a downward acceleration on Earth of 9.8 meters per second squared, roughly, depending on where you are. Interestingly enough, that acceleration changes based on your latitude because of centrifugal acceleration.
Yeah. So just we can move on, but again, my point is going to be to simply reiterate that even if I get you the numbers that you want, it is not going to change the image. And I have other images where I can show you.
I agree. It's not going to change the image.
I'm still talking. Okay. I have other images that I can show you my reason for saying that the obstruction is always due to refraction, whether or not it's a mirage or any other classification of refraction. We simply are not able to see as far when the refractive index is high. We can see farther when the refractive index is low. That's as simple as it gets. I can see farther because of this. I can't see as far because of this. And I am looking over a horizontal plane.
You're not looking over a horizontal plane because none of the data actually shows that. And if you do the observations and actually have the data to support it, if you do the observations and you have data to actually support it, then you can actually show exactly what you should be able to see. You do. I mean, you can deny that you need data all you want, but you're just wrong, and it makes you sound really, really stupid.
No. Again,
I don't need data. The PlaneTruth 2020.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because I'm not trying to.
So
hold on.
Anyway, right. Let's move away. You said we can move on. So let's.
I know, but you just made a point that I want to answer back, please.
Okay.
When you say that I need data, it's because you think I'm making a prediction.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just saying that the picture means nothing without data to support it. I can't analyze that picture that you're giving me.
Why do you need to analyze it? It's just a boat in front of you, Craig. It's just an island.
Because you are using it to claim that the Earth is flat. So I need to be able to actually analyze that. All right. So let's move away from refraction, shall we? And explain.
That's my argument.
Your argument's refraction exists.
Okay. Are you stupid?
No, I'm not.
Okay, then stop asking that question, because if you ask
I'm not.
I
didn't ask a question. I made a statement. Your statement is refraction.
No, it was. Yeah, it was a tacit, implicit question.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, refraction is a thing and explains a lot of what we see.
Craig,
I'm never going to deny that fact, right? But let's move away from the refraction. You are saying that, you've been admitted that, but let's move away from refraction.
Everybody,
right?
just
and talk about observations.
To the fact that Craig is
talk about
what
observations. No, you even said that your argument is it's not the curve of the Earth, it's refraction. I mean, that's plainly false, because none of the data supports that assertion. But your entire claim is that it's refraction is the reason why we see things. Refraction is a thing, right?
Simply hand-wave dismissing my argument doesn't.
No, I'm not hand-wave dismissing your argument. You haven't presented an argument because you have no data to back up everything that you say.
Yeah,
right.
And
so how about we move to observations that have?
I have no obligation. I have no obligation to meet your requirements or your standards of what you think is data.
Well, you do. If you're trying to use it to claim something, then you absolutely do. And
okay, so can you back up your claim that the regardless of the fact because of science?
That's nothing to do with the argument.
No,
that's nothing to do with the argument about the.
You've made a claim, and I want evidence for it. You're asking me for evidence of my claim. I want evidence of your claim. Right.
Yeah, but I'm not making a claim. I'm making a
statement.
Yes,
you did. You made a claim.
The burden of proof isn't with me. End of story. I mean, that's just a fact. It's not a claim.
I don't need to have data, Craig. I don't need to have data.
You do, because without data, you cannot actually.
Without evidence of the scientific, without evidence of the scientific
community. Might be a good time to switch over into a new topic.
Yeah, so that's what I've been trying to do, but he keeps going back to the observations at sea level where refraction is a thing. So I just want to move away from that.
Refraction is a thing at every level.
Yeah, right. But you can actually calculate what the refraction is based on your height. And the thing about refraction is it's it's based on specific things. And one of the things that it's very specific on is the coefficient of refraction, which you need to use the lapse rate to calculate. And the lapse rate is the change in atmospheric pressure over a certain distance. So, or sorry, the change in temperature over a certain distance. So say 1 degree over 5 meters, right? But the thing about the lapse rate is the higher that you go up, the smaller the lapse rate is, because the temperature changes less quickly over a certain distance, which means the higher up you go, the less refraction that you have, which is why I go to observations that are away from the highest coefficient of refraction, that don't get so distorted by things like that, like the observation from Miles Davis that there is no explanation for on a flat Earth.
There is.
What?
Refraction.
No, refraction can't make something based on the lapse rate here.
Okay, so
there's
let me
no
ask
way
you a
that
question on
refraction
that
could
claim.
cause that.
Okay, you just made a claim. So how did Miles Davis eliminate refraction as a cause for the effect that he captured?
By moving away from the point where the lapse rate would actually cause a distance like that.
Okay, so again, when you said moving away. Can you please elaborate on what that means? I'm asking you seriously, right?
Okay, so right,
moving away.
Look at this image, right? So this is actually to scale based on the atmosphere. Okay, the lines represent like layers of atmosphere, if you want. So like 90% atmosphere, 80% atmosphere, 70% atmosphere, it goes up. As you can see, the higher up you go, the further apart those lines are, which means that the temperature change will be less over a larger distance, meaning that the lapse rate will be less, meaning that the coefficient of refraction will be less, meaning that you will have less refractive properties. It's just a natural thing that happens as you move away from the point where the lapse rate changes quicker.
Okay, so what the difficulty with what we're looking at right now, Craig, is with a two-dimensional image that has no depth or three-dimensional space. So can you?
That's irrelevant to
no, it's not.
It's a
not
representative.
It's not irrelevant.
It is, because
it's absolutely not irrelevant.
If you want to stop talking, Mario, that's cool. So what this represents,
we're name calling right now. So that was
Mario wasn't the name calling. That was just a joke.
Who's Mario?
So, he's an Italian plumber that you look a lot like.
Okay, so you're calling me a name. Yeah, you're castigating.
No,
yeah, you are.
I'm having fun. All right, let's move on and have some fun.
Right.
If you can't have fun, humor is another thing you lack as well as scientific
I'm not
knowledge.
going to have fun by calling you names, Craig, okay?
Oh, well, I will. Never mind. So what this represents is the actual pressure bands of the atmosphere on a 2D plane. And if you could extend this on 3D and it would be the same. This is actually an arc of a circle. Each of those lines is an arc of a circle. And this entire drawing is to scale based on the atmospheric pressure that we have.
Can you prove that to me, please?
Well, based on the known pressure of the atmosphere at certain heights.
Yeah, don't tell me a story, Craig. I want you to show me that this is reality right now. Can you show me this in reality, please?
Yes, the fact that at a certain height above us,
you're telling me a story again. Yeah, you're telling me a story.
Okay, so planes fly in certain bands of atmosphere.
Telling me a nice story, bro. Nice story.
Yeah, so if you want to shut the fuck up, you moron, and listen, that'd be great.
I'm asking you simply to show me a picture of reality. No, I don't want you to explain anything, Craig.
In a plane, they have barometric pressure indicators that tell them how high up they are and what the pressure is.
Objection, Your Honor.
Hold on.
Well, you can object as much as you want.
Let's give Fight a chance. I promise we'll come right back to you, Plane.
We know that there is a gradient of pressure in the atmosphere that actually extends out a certain distance. And we know what the Kármán line, roughly what the atmospheric pressure is. And based on that, those empirical observations that can be made by people that actually have the ability to do them, we can see what the change in temperature, the change in atmospheric pressure is over a distance. And this is actually modeled out. I've given the website many times in the chat, and everyone can go and look at the entire website this is based on themselves, okay? But this is an accurate representation of what we see in our atmosphere. And what it demonstrates is that the higher up you go, the change in the temperature and the pressure takes longer the higher up you go, and that's a change in lapse rate.
Great.
You can't deny that we have an atmospheric pressure gradient, and that's what this is demonstrating.
Great. Can you validate this with a demonstration in real life?
You want me to validate that there's atmospheric gradient?
No, I want you to validate your claim that you just showed us in a two-dimensional image that's not reality.
Okay, it's a representation of what we see in our atmosphere.
Right, and
due
in
to
order
the
for me to
atmospheric
believe,
gradients.
yeah, in order for me to believe what
Okay,
you just said, I'd like you to show that to me.
Is there an atmospheric pressure gradient? Yes or no?
This is a red herring.
No, it's not, because that's
It
my
is.
point. Is there an atmospheric pressure gradient? Yes or no?
Okay, did I ask you to simply show me?
Is there an atmospheric pressure gradient? Yes or no? It's a simple question.
Simply,
Can you no, I'm going to ask you a question until you answer
the burden. You're reversing
Is there
the
an
burden
atmospheric
on me, Craig.
pressure gradient? Yes or no?
I'm not falling for your banana in the tailpipe trick.
So you don't know.
Okay,
You know or not?
Okay.
Is there an atmospheric
objection, Your Honor? He's answering the question with a question.
Hey, James, I'm asking him to answer a question for me, and he won't answer.
I've asked a question
Yeah,
of you,
and I need to-
you are not answering.
Why
Right.
don't we'll just take turns? Not a problem.
There is an atmospheric pressure gradient. That is undeniable.
I'm not asking you to state your position again.
No, I'm stating a fact. There is an
I'm
atmospheric
not
pressure
asking
gradient.
you to state the fact that you consider to be valid again. That's
Okay,
not what I'm asking you.
Like, you're moving away from the entire argument. The
let's,
entire argument that I am bringing up is the further away from the surface that you are, the lapse rate will change. Right?
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
the point.
That's
right?
the story.
No,
right?
it's not a story. The atmospheric pressure gradient proves that fact.
Okay. Can we go back to? I'm willing to have a
So-
discussion on this point
so-
because you're not answering my question. Can you go back to your
no-
two-dimensional image, please?
Well,
I have a
two-
question about it. Really, I have a question about
Go on
it.
then.
So, at what level is the observer looking at? Is this ground level?
The thick black line would be ground level. Yes.
Okay. So how far away from this am I?
Well, I would have to do the calculations based on the arc of the circle to know that for sure. But it's all explained actually in this website that that you can go to and look at the details yourself.
So again,
this is just a representation of the atmospheric pressure gradient.
Honestly,
and that is my point here. Okay.
Yeah. Honestly,
look, I'm going to actually state my claim again because you seem to be missing the point.
No.
The further away from these,
I want to ask you a question about your image.
The further away, this is the image that I'm using as evidence,
I wasn't finished
right?
asking my question.
This is the image that I'm using as evidence with data to back it up that you can find in the video that this is from, okay? What I showed you just now is just a representation of the atmospheric pressure gradient that we have on Earth that is an undeniable fact, okay? And what that means is that the further away from the surface you will have a lower lapse rate, meaning that the coefficient of refraction will be less, meaning that the actual refractive conditions will not be as severe as if you are close to the water.
Great.
That is my claim.
understand. Yeah, I understand your claim.
So,
can you
based
go back
on
to
that,
your image before, please?
so based on that, how does this image happen on a flat Earth?
Sure. I understand your claim. I want to can we go back to your two-dimensional so I can just ask a question or at least because it's an abstract concept, right? So when we look at things orthographically, we don't see them accurately, right? So
I mean, it's not my problem if you can't visualize 3D space.
Okay, so if I were to elevate my height, looking in this direction, even though I don't see black lines in front of me, you're suggesting that the atmosphere is its gradations are according to scale, just as you've drawn them. Okay.
Yes.
So now, as I elevate my height, I also extend my distance or my ability to see farther into the distance. And if there is an object that is, let's say, 10 miles away in proximity, and I elevate, and I can't see it very well because the gradient is so bad, but if I elevate my height, that will alter the refractive index at that distance with that object. But if there's something farther away, then I'm going to create the exact same phenomenon, even though I've elevated myself because I'm looking farther away. So you have the same effect, even though you think that you are changing your perspective simply because you're elevating your viewer height. But you're not. You're simply changing the dynamic of how the refraction is going to affect what you see in the distance. It's not going to eliminate refraction altogether. It's going to change the dynamic, but the dynamic when you get farther away is going to be just like as if you were still low on the ground, because you're increasing distance and you're looking through the
Yeah.
same amount of layers.
But the point of the observation that I present is that you are looking through the same layer. You are looking through a 210 meter eye level. Okay.
So okay,
So
hold on. I'm sorry. When you say the same layer,
wait.
though,
Let me clarify. Okay. So the eye level is 210 meters. The top of the bridge pole, the Fife Road Bridge, is 210 meters, meaning that you are looking through the atmospheric pressure band. Over these distances, the curve, I mean, I think that's about 1.3 kilometers. So you're looking at 0.002 degrees of the arc of the Earth. So you're not going to, it's practically flat, but it's an arc of a circle, right? So you're looking through the particular pressure band, it's all the same. And if the Earth was flat, that pressure band at that eye level would be the same all the way that you're looking, meaning that you will be able to calculate the lapse rate and stuff.
yeah. Okay.
But that would mean on a flat Earth, there is no way that the hills in the background that are more than twice the height of this could drop below that eye level.
That's incorrect.
No, it's not incorrect. The math
incorrect,
says that you're
Craig.
wrong with that statement.
It's incorrect, Craig. Okay.
Can you give me the maths to back up that?
I don't
statement?
have to give you the math.
Yeah, you do,
No,
because
I
I
can
can
show
give
you
you-
images. Okay, so here.
No, you do, because I can give you the maths to show that it is correct.
That's great. That's great, Craig. So what I would like to do, this is what I've also said to Miles Davis. I'll say it to you. I've said it to Rumpus when they produce one image, okay? I have hundreds of images where I can show you that I am taking an observation from the same location and I get different results. So here's my prediction, Craig. Here's my prediction. If we could get Miles Davis to go back to this same location,
He's done that.
okay, show us that picture as well. It's not going to match. Okay, it's not going to match.
I mean, just go to his channel, but
I'm just saying it's. I have enough of my own photography where I can show you examples of.
all your photography is at like sea level and stuff.
Right, but you have the same effects that.
No, you don't, because you have a much lower lapse rate.
Okay, but when you look into the distance, even though you've elevated yourself, that distance is as if you're lowering your viewer height.
No,
okay?
It's not.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Only if the Earth is a curve would that be the case.
No.
On a flat Earth, the plane of the atmospheric band would be the same all the way through.
That's
right?
incorrect.
No, it's not.
That's incorrect.
It's not, because
I can show you. Okay, can I share my screen?
If the
Hold
Earth
on.
is right, if the Earth is flat, there is an atmospheric pressure gradient that is 14.7 psi up to practically 0 psi. That exists everywhere on Earth. Okay, only right near the water is the cases where you can actually have things like ducts and stuff, which can give you a temperature inversion and make light appear to bend back on itself and things. But when you move away from the refractive conditions that are caused by being close to the water, you don't get that. And if the Earth was flat, the band of pressure that you're looking through will be the same as you look through, especially when you raise yourself away from the water, meaning that there will not be a change in the temperature over what you're looking at, because you're looking through the same pressure band. Okay,
I understand the explanation, but the
which
reality
means
is
that there
if you
is-
go back and take those images, you're not going to have the same image every single time. You're just not.
I'd like everyone just to go to his channel. I'm pretty sure he's gone back there. Maybe not this one, this position, but he's gone to other places that he's done similar observations more than once.
So I have a question real quick on this image then too, is because I have certain people who come and visit my channel. One of the questions that they ask me is how I can prove that my camera was level. Is there any proof that Miles Davis's camera is level? I'm just asking.
Well,
Is that one of the data points? Is that one of the data points?
So you mean whether it's looking up or looking down?
Sure. Yeah, I'm just asking because
Yeah,
you know it is a pretty touchy dynamic.
That's really not going to affect the fact that there is an eye level that you have by the middle of the camera,
can you prove that?
looking to the eye level in the distance.
Yeah, can you prove that it's not going to affect it that much?
Alpha equals 2 times the arctan of G over 2R. The law of perspective.
Yeah, I can show you. Are you finished do you have anything else to say regarding this image?
Oh, Miles Davis says he has numerous shots of that on various days. Miles, could you send me some of those, please?
Again, I think when I had my conversation with Miles, I asked him if it was from the same location, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't. So again,
Well, he's literally just said in the chat that he has them. So Miles,
okay, from
if you
the
could
same location.
Yes, that's what he's saying.
I'm just
Miles, if you could email me those now, I'll bring those up to demonstrate that you get the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Are you finished? Is there anything else you'd like to say about this image at all, or?
Oh, just the fact that it is impossible on a flat Earth.
No, it's not impossible.
No, it absolutely is. Based on how physics works, it is.
Actually, it's not.
Well, how does the physics work then?
I can show you.
No. When you talk about physics, you have to give me the math.
Okay, can you provide a citation that shows that I have to provide you the math?
Yeah, my entire degree in physics.
Okay, do you have a citation that says that if I'm going to make a claim about physics that I have to have an expression in math? That was my question.
Yeah, because
Craig.
that's what physics is.
Don't tell me the story, Craig. I'm asking you for
I'm
a
not
citation.
telling you a story.
Craig.
I'm telling you that physics is based on mathematically modeling the world. That's what physics is.
Great. Can you show me a citation that says that the exclusive way to demonstrate anything in physics is to have a mathematical equation?
Yeah, my entire degree in physics, the definition
that for us? Can
of
you
physics.
Produce that as evidence, please? Because right now it's just rhetoric. You're just saying
again,
something.
Physics is literally physically describing the world.
Keep
the way that you
to
do
yourself.
that, the way that you do that is with
yourself.
maths. Because as we all know, unless you're a flat Earth idiot, maths is the only place that proof exists.
And that's
so to be able to
incorrect.
No, that is an absolute fact.
It's absolutely incorrect. So you have no evidence that states that I am obligated in any way to
because without the data to back it up, your observations mean nothing.
Great. Do you have a citation?
Yes,
that
all
shows
physics.
Okay,
all of physics is my citation.
That's another claim that I'm going to ask you to prove, and you're just simply repeating. Okay,
all of physics
of my
is
observations.
My
okay, can you see my screen, please, Craig?
Yeah. So what was the atmosphere? The temperature. What was the? Have you got all those details for me?
Okay. So the reality that we have here before us is that my camera was set up at the same location and at the same height.
Yeah, you're close to water, aren't you?
So the reality that we're looking at right now is that I have a camera set up at the same location. We have a 12-mile.
It's irrelevant. We've discussed
sure
this.
I'm talking.
We've moved away from water, the observations near water, haven't we? The conversation evolved past that.
Okay, so
let's not look at observation. I'm really not interested in your observations that don't show anything with no data.
The data here is that it's 12 miles away, and then there's 6 miles away is the other cave.
And what was the temperature at the water and as you went up?
And
is any of that there? No. Okay, let's move on to things that are away from there, shall we?
Yeah. So again, your hand wave dismissing. That's fine. That's
I want actual data to go with your observations. Otherwise, they don't mean anything.
Show me I'm obligated to give you any data that
it doesn't mean anything without it.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, look, Craig, we have an observation.
You have an observation. Yeah, that's it. That's all you have.
We have data here.
Cool story, bro.
Presenting to
There's no data there.
You've got a cool story too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come
awesome.
on. Where's the data to
show
back up
me that I'm obligated to meet your standards of data? Where's your evidence?
There isn't any data there. There isn't anything that I can use to calculate the refractive index. How do you calculate the refractive index based on what you've got there? How do you calculate? No. How do you calculate the refractive index based on what you've got there?
Where is your evidence?
If you don't have it, that's cool. I'm going to ignore it then because it doesn't mean anything
about it. If you don't have any
it.
evidence to back up your claims, that's cool. Okay. Where should we go now?
You can present some evidence you haven't yet.
According to me, hold on, James. Actually, I have.
No, you clearly haven't. All you've done is show
clearly
me.
I can just claim that I have
You've shown
evidence.
You've shown me some images that don't have any data to back them up, so we can't actually ascertain anything.
Yeah, the data that backs them up is the distance of the viewer observation, the height of the viewer, the focal length of the camera. That's data.
where's the actual data that allows me to calculate the refractive index?
And if you have any evidence that I'm obligated to meet your standard,
your claim is that it's not the curve of the Earth, it's refraction. To verify that claim, I need to know the refractive index.
I can show you the refractive index. See, the difference
No,
between
you can't show me the refractive index unless you show me the math, because that's how you calculate the refractive index.
All right. So what I would like you to simply consider, I'd like you to consider something just for the moment, okay? What we have right now is a Mexican standoff to a certain extent, okay? You showed me a few minutes ago some lines across the screen.
Yes.
I asked you to validate that with a real live photo. You couldn't do it. So all I'm doing right now is
I mean, I can. All right, you want me to validate
hold on,
that the Earth
let me finish,
is that?
Let me finish my point, please. All I'm doing.
You go on so much.
Really?
Honest, yeah.
Really?
Right.
Okay, so it's. I'm
we
almost
moved
finished.
away.
Nearly there.
We moved
nearly
away
there.
from the.
I'm nearly there. Nearly there.
Soup strainer.
Nearly
Come
there.
on. Where's that?
Let's 1 sec.
Nearly there. Just
We're
let me
going
finish,
to-
Craig or
Hey,
James.
Come on,
James, just let me finish.
Come on, Catcher. Let's do what we said and move away.
Is that
from
where we're at? We're at name calling again.
Can you be as short and pithy as possible, and then we got to move into a new topic.
Come on, Boomerang. Let's do it, Whiskers.
So, all I did was simply provide you with a real life photo where I could demonstrate the same thing in description that would be parallel to your lines going across the screen.
With no data to back it up, Mr. Tickles.
Yeah, you had no data that I was requiring.
Come on, T-Strainer. We agreed we were going to move away from the close to water images because you don't have.
I didn't agree to that.
Well, okay, we've talked about your. I want to say evidence, but that's not really the right word for what you've shown. How about we talk about some of the things that I talked about? The fact that there are certain things that can only be explained by the fact we're on a rotating globe, like the Yacht-Foss effect. How does that happen if the Earth is flat and stationary?
So, where's your evidence that the effects that you're observing is due to the curve of the Earth?
I didn't say it's due to the curve of the Earth.
Okay, rotation. I'm sorry. It's hard for me to keep up with the BS of the heliocentric model. So what's the effect? What's the effect that we're looking at?
The effect is, right, let me get the thing back up. Where's, oh God, I've lost where that was the next one, wasn't it? All right, give me 1 sec to get the video back up. So what I'm talking about with the Yacht-Foss effect, right, this isn't to try and make it look stupid or anything, but do you know what the Yacht-Foss effect is?
Nope.
Right, okay, cool. That's a baseline that we can start with. I can explain to you what the Yacht-Foss effect is.
Awesome.
Right? So if the Earth is rotating at 15 degrees per hour, like we say it is, okay, and it is the size that we say it is, that means that there will be a certain centrifugal acceleration at a certain latitude on the globe, right? So if you are at the equator, which has a tangent angular velocity of about 1,000 miles an hour, it means you're going to have about 0.3% centrifugal acceleration based on the gravitational acceleration. If you're at the poles, then there isn't any centrifugal acceleration, so the observation can't be done there. But what you can do is, based on your latitude and your known angular velocity at that, you can calculate what your centrifugal acceleration should be, right? And because we know centrifugal acceleration acts in the opposite direction to gravity, sorry, I didn't actually get the video up.
Hold on. Can you say that last statement one more time? Can you say that again, please?
The centrifugal acceleration acts in the opposite direction to gravity.
Okay. May I ask a question?
Yeah.
How do you know that it acts in the exact opposite way of gravity?
Because it acts in a perpendicular direction to the orientation of rotation. That's what the centrifugal acceleration is.
So when you say opposite, okay, I'm just trying to get it. So you're saying that it's exerting an outward direction.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an apparent force that manifests itself.
Actually, centrifugal force is a real force. Actually.
Well, it's not. It's an apparent force.
No, actually, it's a real effect. It actually happens. It's real.
Yeah, but it's called an apparent force.
Right, because you wizards have to.
No, because that's the description. Because
because you wizards have to avoid reality.
Let me describe it in another way. It's an emergent force.
Please do.
Okay.
What the hell does that mean?
It means
All right,
emergent means
I've,
emergent means consequence, right?
1 second. Plain truth. I've like stuck with this topic to be sympathetic to you. So let fight finish.
Really? So you're coming down on me, but when he calls me names, you've got nothing to say?
Listen.
Wow.
Listen,
Okay.
I don't care about people calling each other names, and frankly, if you're stoic enough, you shouldn't care either. But
No,
No,
if
that's
we're gonna at
not
least let
that's not
people use,
argumentation.
if we're
Name
gonna let
calling
people
is not
use,
argumentation.
if we're gonna let
James.
people just give their arguments, I've given you the benefit of the doubt by keeping us from moving on. So if you just let it
simply
finish,
because I want to discuss points of claims, you're coming down on me because you consider that not wanting to move on.
this
When
is like
he hasn't validated anything that he's claimed, and I want to hold him to accountability to provide evidence, you consider that the fact that I'm holding up the progress.
I'm
of
trying to
listen.
present evidence, but you don't shut your mustachioed mouth up.
plain.
Uh-huh.
I'm not coming down on you. I haven't muted
Okay.
you. There are other people who I've muted before. Like all I'm doing is if you just let them finish.
Okay, so the centrifugal acceleration is an emergent force, right? Emergent means a consequence of something. So
That's
it's
redundant.
no, it doesn't. That's literally what it means. Now, again, if you could shut your mustachioed mouth up and listen for 2 minutes, you might learn, right? So that's centrifugal force is an emergent force, an apparent force that happens because of a consequence of something else, right? And we can measure that in an outward acceleration, okay? So we know there's regardless of what a centrifugal force is, it's something that we can measure that exists, okay? And based on the angular velocity of the Earth rotating at the speed that we say it does, then we can calculate what the centrifugal acceleration is, okay? Now, what centrifugal acceleration does has an opposite effect to gravity. So if you're at the poles, it means that you don't have a centrifugal force acting, so gravity is a little stronger. At the equator, you have that centrifugal acceleration of about 0.3% of gravity, which reduces gravity by that little bit, okay? Now, what that means is that if we were traveling with the rotation of the Earth, so from west to east, we would actually increase that centrifugal acceleration. This is something that would happen. And if we're traveling from east to west, we would decrease that
On
centrifugal
every
acceleration.
latitude?
Yes. Well, it would change. It would get less and less the closer towards the poles that you got.
Okay, hold on real quick.
Wait, I haven't finished my explanation. Let me.
Just had a quick question.
Carry on. All right, go on then.
So if we're at the equator, is it an equal effect both south of the equator and north of the equator? So that if you go to each latitude that corresponds to the other latitude, is it the exact same?
Roughly, yes.
Roughly, is that a scientific estimation, or is
the gravitational acceleration is slightly different based on land masses and mountains and stuff. But yeah, the centrifugal acceleration, if we take the Earth as a near perfect sphere, the centrifugal acceleration will decrease proportionally north and south of the equator. Okay. So what you can do is, based on your latitude, you can calculate what your centrifugal acceleration should be, right? But it's a fact that if you move with the rotation of the Earth, you will increase that centrifugal acceleration. And if you move against the rotation of the Earth, you will decrease the centrifugal acceleration. And this will manifest itself in a reduction and an increase in weight. So in, I think it was the 1700s, Lord Yotfoss did gravity measurements on ships traveling east to west and west to east in the Pacific, in the Indian Ocean. And they always managed to calculate a perceived increase or decrease in the gravitational acceleration. However, things are a lot more accurate nowadays. And Wolfie 6020 tested this hypothesis by getting a 500-gram test weight and measuring it before he got on a flight.
question.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just not sure how much you're going to keep droning on.
I'm trying to explain to you what the Yotfoss effect is and how my observation actually applies to it.
Yeah,
but go on.
You've made a statement earlier. So you said that the Earth is a near perfect sphere.
Near perfect, yes.
You know, when was this determined that it was nearly perfect?
The distance, the difference between the equatorial radius and the polar radius is 0.03%. It's 46 miles over the difference in equatorial radius over 6,000 miles.
Okay,
So
I didn't say
that class is as a nearly perfect sphere.
Okay, so
I didn't say it's a perfect sphere. I said it's a nearly perfect sphere.
Well, no,
which it
I
is.
quoted you, Craig. I said nearly perfect sphere. That's what I
Yeah.
said. Yeah.
And
Great.
it's been
So
the
yeah,
well,
yeah. So I
let's
didn't.
say
No,
we,
but see, you
we
didn't
clarified
answer
that
my
in
question.
1972 when we took a photo with the with a Hasselblad camera on the way to the moon. But
Sure. Hold on, though.
And okay,
Point of clarification. I didn't ask you how. I said when.
ever since cartographers were a thing, and we managed to measure the planet. Okay, so let's stop with you trying to derail me. And let
I'm
me
trying to
continue my
understand.
point.
I'm not
Right,
trying to
my
derail
point
you.
is
You're
that
making a claim.
my point
I'm
is
just
that
asking
I
you to
am
validate your claim. You have some
the Earth is
interesting points
the
that
Earth
I'm
is a
trying to
nearly perfect
understand.
sphere. That is the scientific consensus, and that's what I'm going with. Stop trying to derail me and listen. Okay, so Wolfie 6020 got a test weight of 500 grams, and he measured it before and after he got on flights traveling east to west and west to east. Then, whilst on those flights, he got an average weight, because obviously there's going to be perturbations based on turbulence, etc. So he had the weights on the entire flight and got an average. And what the average showed was that as he was traveling west to east, there was a perceived reduction in the gravitational acceleration. As he was traveling east to west, there was a perceived increase in the gravitational acceleration, manifested in the fact that the weights showed more and less of the 500 grams. Okay, this video is the whole experiment of him doing it, and shows actually matches the predictions of what we would expect based on the gravitational acceleration changing based on the centrifugal acceleration. Okay, so this is based on our model, and our model says it is a nearly perfect sphere. So this was an attempt by Wolfie to clarify or to verify that that model is correct, because if the model is correct, then these are things that we should experience, and he experienced it. And this is something that anybody can do. Anybody can do.
Okay, so we have an observation that seems to match Wolfie's prediction, correct? He makes a prediction, and then he takes some measurements and writes the data down for that. Is that correct? He gets an effect, right?
Yeah.
So how does he prove the cause of that effect?
That wasn't what he was trying to do. He was trying to verify a prediction.
And his prediction was what again? I'm sorry.
His prediction would be that traveling west to east, you would have a perceived reduction in gravitational acceleration, and traveling east to west, you would have a perceived increase in gravitational acceleration.
Okay, sure. So you would have the exact same effect on a flat Earth. We just wouldn't call it by the same terms that
Why would you have that on the flat Earth, though? What would cause
Beats the hell out of me. But that's not his point. His point wasn't to prove the cause, right? His point was simply to make a prediction that
his point was to try and verify the model.
Okay, so
and the model says that these effects should happen if you do this.
Why should they happen?
That based on gravitation, I literally explained that to you based on.
I'm just asking for clarification. I don't want to misrepresent. If I address a statement, I don't want to misrepresent you.
It should happen because that is what would happen if you increased your centrifugal acceleration or decreased your centrifugal acceleration.
Right. So simply because he has an effect, how does he know it's caused by the centrifugal acceleration?
Because he is increasing his centrifugal acceleration by traveling west to east.
No, he's not proving that. No,
he's showing that there is.
He's just changing location and getting an effect, which is what you would expect on a flat Earth. Yeah. Okay.
No, you wouldn't expect that on a flat Earth. There's
no.
You
would.
No. You just said you expect that on a flat Earth. You need to tell me why.
No, the question would be for you as well, because you're making the claim initially. I'm just trying to repeat the claim that you're making. Hold on, just real quick. Hold on, please. So the burden still falls on you. That is, why are you making the claim that you think that there's that expectation?
Because that's what our model says. Our model says that the globe is rotating like that. So we can test that prediction. We can test that prediction that our model says. This is something that you should get if the Earth is rotating, and then you add to or take away from that centrifugal acceleration.
Okay, so just a point of clarification then. So your prediction, when I say the prediction is made not because there's an observation made, but because your model already assumes that the Earth is in motion, and so you are simply extrapolating out that if you have a centrifugal acceleration, then you're going to have certain effects Is that correct?
I'm saying that based on what our model says.
Yes, but I'm asking you why your model says that. So here,
because all science backs up that assertion.
No. That's simply circular argumentation.
No, it's not. I mean, we
it
can go in.
is.
Like we can
the
go
Bible
in,
is the word of God because the Bible says it's the word
can
of
go
God.
back,
It's a circular argument that you just gave me.
All the things that science does is based on things that we have figured out from the past. Okay, we have
so
done.
But
wait. I am trying to respond to you. Stop interrupting me. Okay, right. So all science leading up to this point has determined that the Earth is rotating, and that it is the size that we say it is. And that is how we've created our model based on empirical observations that can be verified. So based on those observations and the model that has been created around all of science, the model says that this is an effect that should happen because of centrifugal acceleration. He knows he's increasing his centrifugal acceleration because he's traveling from west to east. And
again,
if he's traveling west to east, the model says that that would increase the centrifugal acceleration. And that is the effect that we see.
Right, but again, the effect that you are observing, my question is, it's the chicken and the egg, right? So was there an observation made that there is an increase in weight, or was there a prediction made that that would be the result and it just happened to match?
That's kind of what empirical evidence is. You can make a prediction and then test that prediction with real world observations.
How can you make a prediction about something that you've never observed? Because simply, so
they have observed the Earth rotating. That's something that has been observed.
Well, that is another point of debate, which is where I was actually going originally with asking you to prove the fact that you are describing you're attributing to a cause. I'm sorry, you're attributing to an effect the cause of the Earth's rotation. Okay. So Wolfie is setting out to prove Earth rotation because his effect depends on it.
Oh yeah, no. So the title of this video is verifying Earth's rotation with the Optos effect.
Right. So
that's the point. If
how did he know that the Earth was rotating before this?
Because all observations point towards that.
No, all observations that I've made don't point toward the Earth rotating, so that's not true.
Well, you haven't done the observations right then, because all of science agrees that the Earth rotates. The Mix and Morley experiment demonstrated quite nicely that at different points in the Earth's rotation around the sun, that there are certain effects that we should get. I mean, there's so many things going back through years and years and years of science that shows that the Earth rotates. We can even look at mechanical gyroscopes that are actually lubed and stuff enough that have a drift as expected. Gyro compasses, which use the Earth rotation to find true north. The counter-rotating stars that we see at the North and South Pole. There is so many things that back up the assertion that the Earth is rotating. The best one being the interferometric fiber optic gyroscope registering that drift.
Right, but see, all of those instruments are actually pointless because we have people in the past that knew that the Earth was rotating without those instruments. So my question is, was the Earth first thought to be rotating because it was measured to be rotating, or was it simply a postulation to try to understand an observation that was being made?
Probably back at the time, but that's why we build on postulations.
Probably back at the time what?
If you let me finish. But
no, you said probably back at the time, and then you didn't finish your sentence. So I'm trying to call you back to make sure that you finished your
stopped
sentence.
Me before I could
actually,
carry on.
I didn't. Actually,
right. So, no, stop talking. You need to learn to engage your lips together. That's
really?
When sound stops coming out.
This is coming from you. That's awesome.
Let's give him a chance to finish. I promise we'll come right back.
It's so funny that you're calling me out, man. That's so funny.
Yeah, no, honestly, you don't know when to shut up.
All I'm saying is let him finish. I promise we'll come back to you.
So all of science has pointed towards the fact that the Earth is rotating. All observations that have ever been done, Kepler's observations, all the observations that are made in the past, the retrograde motions of Mars, for example, all the observations point towards it. However, the ability to test that is something that has come along later. So science builds on postulations and theories and stuff that have gone in the past. And then when we test these theories and everything, if it doesn't turn out, we discard that theory and try and find something that fits what we've observed. And then we have to take all of the different observations, not just one single thing. We have to take all of the observations together and try and make a model out of that. And the model that we have come up with says that these are effects that we should have. So they test to see if that is true by testing to see if we do have those effects. And if we do have those effects, it's more evidence to give credence to the fact that the model is accurate. So it doesn't answer why you would have these effects on the flat Earth. That is my point.
And where's the evidence that we have to have an explanation for why things happen, rather than just simply seeing the observation and understanding?
Well, you don't want to provide evidence for and explanations for things. That's cool.
That's a red herring, because that's not what I said,
Hitchens'
Craig.
razor says things presented without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
Okay, the observation is evidence. I said, if you would listen to what I actually said, I asked you what evidence you have that we are obligated to explain why an event is happening. That's what I said, and you completely.
Of course, you have to explain why something happens. Otherwise, you don't know why it happens.
Where is the evidence that you can produce that shows that we are obligated to explain why an event happens?
If you don't want to ask the question why, that's your problem. And I'm not asking for evidence to say that you have to give me an explanation. I'm asking if there is an explanation. Right? I don't care whether you think
simply because
wait. I don't care if you think you have to give an explanation or not. I'm asking you if there is an explanation. And the answer is no. There is no explanation for these things on a flat stationary Earth. But there is an explanation on a rotating globe.
Right, and we are simply in disagreement with the fact that you think that I have to have a certain amount of data that you consider valid to prove a point, when I can demonstrate with the observations that I make over numerous days and hundreds of hours, where I can show you patterns in the observations and
of refraction.
Of refraction as obstruction, as obstruction, Craig. Don't miss that point.
But you don't have any maths to back up any of your assertions.
I don't have to have any maths to do that.
Well, then
Craig.
you can't explain it, because maths is how you model things.
I don't have to. I have words. I can explain it with my words, Craig.
Words don't explain things.
Words don't explain things. So everybody hear that? Here you go.
You cut me off before I finished my sentence. Words don't explain things that can be mathematically modeled.
Why do I need to mathematically model something that I can say
so
with
that
my
we can
words?
make predictions based on your observations?
Right. So now this is bringing us. No, hold on. You just made a point that I wanted to bring up.
Let's go back to my evidence and see if you can actually address my evidence.
So, what alternative explanations did Wolfe consider as possible causes for his effect?
There wasn't any possible alternatives. There isn't anything else that
How
can
do you
explain
know that?
it. That's the point.
How do you know that?
Because there is nothing else that can explain why you would get that. Can you think of something?
I'm telling you that you haven't proven the cause, and simply because you have an effect you
verified a prediction.
Right. So the question becomes: is the prediction based on the model, or is the prediction based on an obation made?
The prediction is based on the model, which is based on
on
a myriad of observations.
The Earth is rotating?
A fiber optic gyroscope registers a 15-degree drift.
Right, yeah. So can you please prove that that's the result of the Earth spin? Simply because you measure an effect.
The Sagnac effect, yeah. No, you asked me a question, let me respond. That's easy. No, I didn't, because you didn't shut your mouth again, right? You asked me for evidence that the Earth rotates, and I said, yes, a fiber optic gyroscope, because the Sagnac effect and the known constant of the speed of light in a vacuum can show that is rotating. And we know how rotation affects a gyroscope. I can show you a video directly to show that if you like. But and if we know how rotation affects a gyroscope, then we can see what the gyroscope's on, i.e. the Earth. And if it detects rotation in that case, then we know the Earth is rotating.
Again, it seems to me that you're begging the question that you have an effect and you're attributing it to Earth curve and Earth
No,
rotation.
there's no begging a question with an interferometric fiber optic gyroscope.
Yes, there is. You haven't proven the cause. You've simply measured an effect.
They work based on the Sagnac effect. Do you know how the Sagnac effect works?
Nope.
Okay, well there's an issue. Let me try.
It's not really an issue. Your issue is the fact that you have to prove.
No, it really is an issue because we're not making any claims. We are working with known scientific principles.
So known scientific principles aren't claims.
Right. Do you need me to explain to you how the Sagnac effect works?
No, I'd like to actually go back to what you just said, that known scientific principles are not claims. Is that what you are stating?
Yeah, a known scientific principle isn't a claim, it's a known scientific principle.
So what's the difference between a claim and a known scientific principle?
Well, the Sagnac effect isn't making a claim.
I'm not asking you to describe something, Craig. I'm asking you use these terms, okay?
Yeah, and it's not my fault that you don't understand them.
Okay, Craig,
so here's how the Sagnac effect works.
No.
Honestly, I should start charging for physics lessons.
No.
Here's how the Sagnac.
I have a question before we get to here.
I'm gonna finish my point and then you can ask.
You used a term that I don't understand. I'm trying to understand.
I'm not surprised. I'm surprised you can tie your shoelaces, but
yeah. Well, no, Steve. Listen, if
it was just
hold on, James.
Hold on. I'm on your side in this case. If it's a term, I think it's fair to like. If you're able to, which term was it that you wanted to find, just so that everybody's on the same page?
I believe he said something like the scientific principles are not claims. So I'm just asking him to give me the difference. What's the difference between a claim and a scientific principle?
Well, a scientific principle is something based on known laws, based on known scientific, known effects that have been measured and observed. Like the speed of light is a constant, okay? So we can use the constant of the speed of light to determine effects of certain things. Like the Sagnac effect is a known scientific principle due to the known constant of the speed of light. And then you can use that principle to then make claims. Like we can use the principle of the Sagnac effect to make a claim that a fiber optic gyroscope shows that there's a rotation. Okay,
so just point of clarification again, because you didn't define anything regarding a claim except to say that known scientific principles that are based on laws allow you to make a claim. So a claim is dependent upon known scientific laws. Is that what I hear you saying? That's the difference between...
A law is something that comes along because of empirical observations, like Newton's law of gravitational acceleration was created because there is a known downward acceleration that was apparently proportional to mass and distance.
Okay. So, and again, though, because you said scientific, I can't remember now what your word was, is not a claim.
No, a scientific principle is not a claim.
Okay, but a claim is dependent upon the reality of a scientific principle.
I suppose you could say that.
Well, that's what you've said, and I'm just trying to clarify so that I can understand. Yeah. So that even though when I say, because I've said it before, and I'm just trying to understand your objection. Early on, I said, okay, you've made a claim, and you said, no, I haven't made a claim. And so it seems that you're simply saying I'm stating known scientific laws.
Yeah,
but
I am.
Right, but
like.
But
I mean, if I say that 1 + 1 is 2, that's not really a claim. It's just something that's known.
Great. So what's a claim then? What is a claim? That's what I'm trying to understand your use of this term.
A claim is something. Okay, so I'll make a claim in this case. My claim is that using the known scientific principles of Sagnac effect, I can make a claim that the Earth is rotating based on the operation of interferometric fiber optic gyroscope and how they function.
So you've simply shown me that you can use the term claim in a sentence. What is a claim?
A claim is an assertion of something.
Okay, so
right,
hold on.
Now, can we move past getting bogged down on
it's
like
not bogging
semantics
down if I'm it's not semantics. I'm trying to
talk about the
understand your
physics.
argument.
My argument is the physics. Now, if you will let me get to my argument about the physics,
what
you don't
saying,
understand anything, but you need to try and let me explain the scientific principle that is at work here. Okay.
So I just a point of clarification, real quick, Craig. So later on, when I want to say, so you're making a claim, you would rather I say you're making an assertion. That's what you'd rather I say.
That's the way that I would work.
So even though you defined an assertion as a claim as an assertion, you have a problem using those terms synonymously?
No, not really.
Carry on.
Right. So, oh, thank you. Right. So, my claim is that the Earth is rotating. All right. And I can make that claim based on known scientific principles. The principle that I'm basing this on is that the Sagnac effect can determine rotation. Now, the Sagnac effect works because we know the speed of light in a vacuum, c, right? Approximately 180,000 miles per second, or 300,000 kilometers a second, okay? Now, that scientific principle says that if you fire a beam of light into a two-sided mirror, a silver-sided mirror that splits the beam into two portions, and it travels around a circuit, those beams of light, because the speed of light is constant, if there is no movement, those beams of light will come back at the same point and you will not see an interference pattern. However, if there is rotation, what it will do is physically change the distance that one of the paths of light has to travel, meaning that when the two paths of light recombine, you can pick up an interference pattern in the wavelengths and detect that as a physical drift in motion. That is the basics of how the Sagnac effect work, and is how fiber optic gyroscopes and ring laser gyroscopes function, okay, based on this scientific principle. So that means that if the Earth is rotating, within a fiber optic gyroscope, we should pick up a certain drift because we know the speed of light is a constant. And based on that, if the fiber optic gyroscope shows there's a 15-degree drift, we can determine that the Earth is in fact rotating, because there's no other reason why the fiber optic gyroscope would pick up that rotation. And let me get actually one of my videos to quickly demonstrate that actually isn't just an assertion. It can be demonstrated quite easily. So do you have any questions on what the Sagnac effect is?
I guess my question in principle would still be the same. So the description that you gave in terms of the interference on that device, was that measured first? Did they create this device and find out that the measurement was what it was, or did they predict that if they built this device and they rotated it around, that would be the effect? How did they know they were going to get that result?
Well, they built it to be able to detect rotation.
Okay, I mean, great. So how did they know the Earth was rotating before that?
Because the pendulum drifts in several ways, and because of all the observations I've talked about previously.
Right, but see,
I'm not asking about.
We're still at the same point of
I'm not talking about beforehand. This is one of the things that is evidence towards what I'm saying. Okay. Now, if you give me 1 second to bring up this video to demonstrate that what I'm saying about a gyroscope is true. Wolfie again doing. Oh, I need to actually copy that link. Put that in there. So what Wolfie did was took one of his gyroscopes out of one of his drones, okay, and placed it on a globe Earth in simulation of what you would expect to see on. Sorry, it's playing an ad on the video and trying to get up. Oh, go away! Oh, crap! I've just pressed the wrong thing. My bad. Right. So he took a gyroscope out of one of his drones, okay, and he placed it on a globe. Right. Are you working? No. There we go. Sorry, technology issues. I mean, non-skippable ads on my videos. Who did that? Right. So yeah. So he took a gyroscope out of one of his drones and he placed it on a globe, pointing north to south, like his position was.
Do you mean like a model globe?
Yeah, a model globe, right? In an effort to simulate rotation. Okay. It's better to show you rather than just. Where is it? All right, here we go. At this point. So that's the gyroscope from his drone, right? And he sticks it on the globe in an approximation of his location. and he moves the globe forwards and backwards, right? And that drone, that gyroscope registers that rotation on this computer. This is the software that the drone would be getting that information from. And it shows that as he moves the Earth, the globe model backwards and forward, rotates it backwards and forwards, it shows that it picks up that rotation in 3 axes that is the same as what he's doing. And that's just a demonstration of that is what a gyroscope is measuring. It is measuring a physical rotation. What you're seeing there is a drift, obviously a lot more than 15 degrees per hour because he's doing it faster. But that demonstrates that is what a gyroscope actually picks up if it's on a physical moving object.
All right, so rather than a gyroscope maintaining rigidity in space, it's being used to measure torque?
No, a fiber optic gyroscope measures a change in momentum, a change in acceleration, because it would change the distance, the path that the light has to travel around the path, okay? So, yeah, it literally measures a physical rotation because it maintains its rigidity in 3D space. You could say it maintains its reference point to the distant stars because it maintains its position in the universe, right? And based on that, if it shows rotation, if it shows movement, you can determine what it's showing. And what these fiber optic gyroscopes do is, I'll go back to this video just for a sec, because this is Bob Nadell playing with his gyroscope. And in this video, he's talking about what happens. And what he does, he plugs it in and then he zeroes it out. And then he shows that as soon as he zeroes it out, it straight away starts detecting that rotation. And all it's doing is sitting there on his desk. It's not moving anywhere. The desk is connected to his floor, connected to the Earth. So it's all rotating with the Earth. That gyroscope isn't moving in any way. But as soon as he zeroes it out, he starts to detect a 15-degree rotation in 3 axes, which comports to what you would expect on the sphere, as Wolfie showed. So you can determine from that the gyroscope is picking up a physical movement.
Sure, there's no doubt that it's picking up a physical movement, but again, there's no proof that the cause is the spin of the Earth, because there is a possibility that there is something else going on that it's measuring. I don't know, but that's my point. Is that
I mean it can't pick up anything else because they you know,
what is it? Okay, but what's it register in order to determine that it's moving? What is it that it's registering?
It registers the interference pattern in the light based on movement.
Okay, so again, it's measuring light. So if the light itself is moving, right? If the atmosphere is moving, if the light is moving through the atmosphere.
No, that's in a sealed container. The fiber optic gyroscopes are usually in vacuum tubes and ring laser gyroscopes in vacuum tubes, and fiber optic gyroscopes use fiber optic cables, so little tubes of glass that light travels through, right? So it's outside of the influence of the atmosphere. It's not affected by the atmosphere. It can't see the atmosphere. It's in a contained unit. All it knows is that there's an interference pattern. It can't see anything else.
Sure. Okay. So the question still remains: is that what it's measuring then is what you would say is light, the movement of light?
Yeah. It's measuring the time that the light takes to travel around a path, which can change based on its position.
Okay. I'm again, because this is not my field. I'm just trying to think through what you're saying and ask questions. So if I had a question in my head now, and now it
that's
went
okay.
away. But basically, my question was, if the atmosphere of the Earth and the Earth, according to your model, is locked together, that is, that they move in tandem. The atmosphere moves along with the same rate as the Earth.
Yeah.
That would mean then that the light in the atmosphere isn't bound by the same laws, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to detect its motion, because just like you can't detect the motion of the Earth with your own senses, according to you, because everything is moving together, then that would also mean then that the light
would either have to be in lockstep with the atmosphere, in which case you wouldn't be able to detect it, or it's able to move independently. So is that the case?
Well, you have to think about reference frames. The entire apparatus, including the light in it, is moving with the Earth. And that's what it's, the fact that
you don't seem to understand the fact that that cancels itself out, Craig. That's the whole problem with the Foucault pendulum. If it's on the surface that is moving, it's not going to be able to detect the motion because it's in the same reference frame.
I don't think you understand what, do you know how, okay, the Foucault pendulum is a separate conversation.
You just brought it up though.
No, you're the one that brought up the Foucault pendulum.
No, you just mentioned it.
Because you did. You said that's the problem, and with the Foucault, you were the one that just brought that up, not me.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So the light is traveling in it. Okay, and the fact.
I'm sorry, is traveling in what? What are we talking about?
Within the gyroscope. Okay, so it's measuring the time that the light takes to travel around that path. Okay. So it's nothing to do with the atmosphere. It's as that light is. It has its own, the speed of light is the same for all observers, no matter what your reference frame is. Okay, so the speed of light is a constant within that reference frame. So based on that, we can tell that if the time the light takes to travel a path is different, then that means that the physical movement of that item has happened. And
okay, so
but again, the entire point of me using this as an evidence is there is no reason on a flat Earth you should detect that 15 degree per hour drift, and not just the 15 degree per hour drift in 3 axes, but a 1 degree drift per day on a 2D plane.
Except for the fact that when we observe the fact that the heavens are in motion above us, regardless of whether or not we want to attribute it to Earth rotation or not, we simply have an observation that the sky is in motion. The sun moves, the moon moves, the constellations move, the other wandering stars all move. So light moves. Again, it's very simple. This device simply measures and detects the motion of light. Light is moving.
No. It doesn't detect the motion of light. It detects the time that light takes to travel a known path. Okay.
Well, okay, but isn't that
just simply splitting hairs? Because how is it measuring the time that light takes if it's not measuring light, which is what I said?
Because it doesn't. It's not important that it's what the light is doing. No, sorry, that's the wrong phrase to use. It's not measuring the actual light, like the amount of light or anything. It's measuring the time that light takes to travel a path. And regardless of whether the sky is moving, wait. It has to register light coming into a sensor.
Right.
Yes,
so that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
But what it's actually measuring, what gives you that interference pattern, is measuring the time the light takes to travel over a known distance.
Right. That's only an observation, Craig. You're just simply now attributing it to the rotation of the Earth, which you haven't proven. Okay. Again, this goes back to everything
this is giving you evidence that the Earth is rotating. It's not saying that this proves something else, but this is its own evidence that it's on something that is physically moving. Because if you map out the movements that a gyroscope like this gives you, you will get a globe of our size rotating at the speed it says it does, that is also going around a central point in our solar system.
All that your side has done is taken observations and written mathematical expressions to fit a model that they are presupposing, or rather,
no, there's no presuppositions. The models are based on empirical evidence.
Pretty sure.
I know. I need to correct you if you say something.
No, you need to interrupt
plainly wrong, though, right?
Interrupt me.
Okay. Let's have you finish that point, PlaneTruth, and then I promise, Fight will come right back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to collect my thoughts. I was thinking, and he interrupted me. So, okay. So I think what I was saying was that in this discussion, we have certain things that, or Flat Earth has said, these things can't exist on a flat Earth, and so we have those kinds of classifications. Can happen on a globe model, can happen on a flat Earth, can happen on both, or it's exclusive to one or the other, right? Now, everything that Craig has in his arsenal is the same observations that we will have. We will make the same observations. So they do happen in our world. The thing that we have to understand is that the impossibility of the physics of the spherical model, because there are impossible on a micro level. Those things don't happen. We don't see them on our level. They can only happen in a place where we cannot reproduce, but we can mathematically express these things. So again, simply because you can create a language of math that adequately is consistent and logical within the system, because it's a created system of language. Simply because you can do that, that doesn't mean, just like your little 2D image of those lines, just because you can diagram what you think is happening doesn't mean that it is. We're still left with the same observation.
Yeah, okay. The big problem there is, you said, the impossibility of the physics, but none of the physics is impossible.
Yes.
Actual physics, worked perfectly in our model. There is no
But
problems.
the physics,
there is nothing that can't be explained when you actually do the physics properly.
I agree on a small scale, but when you go to a scale that's larger than what we have on the ground in our proximity, you have to extend yourself into the realm of mathematics where you can express what you think is happening on a larger scale, but you can't demonstrate it. You can language it.
Of course
in
we can
math.
demonstrate it.
Okay, well, first of all, we haven't really specified what we're talking about. It's generic, okay? But when I'm talking about my observations across large bodies of water, like today, I had an interview with a French journalist team from DC. They came up and we were just discussing these things, and I was explaining that here on this shore, if my feet are on this shore, and 5 miles away you're on the other shore and your feet are at the water as well, we are horizontal to each other, straight across, line of sight. The only reason I can't see you at times is because of refraction. But tomorrow when you go there, because the refraction index is lower, I can see you. So it wasn't Earth curve that was blocking you before. It's never Earth curve. The same thing as if you go out to 9 miles. The same thing if you go out to 12 miles. Now, in your model, Craig, you can model and mathematically express to me how much curvature is going to be there, but that doesn't mean that that is representing reality. My feet on the shoreline are going to be horizontal to yours 12 miles away, the same tangent. They are not going to be at different
Well, different. They would be over 12 miles. You'd have roughly about
you can
0.3
math,
of a degree.
You can math it all out, but I'm telling you that it is straight in front of me, straight ahead of me. And
I mean, that's an assertion that is plainly false, though. I mean,
it's
all you have
not,
to do
because
is
we have observations.
no. All you have to do is look at certain things like the Venice Narrows Bridge in New York, right? Which is over a certain distance.
Yeah, it's under a mile. It's under a mile.
Yeah, and what it shows is the difference in the pillars, which are perfectly plumb, at the bottom to the top. There's like 1 3/8 of more at the top than there is at the bottom, which matches the model of the Earth. So,
can you provide a citation for that?
Citation for what?
The claim that you just made.
Oh, of the Venice Narrows bridges being further away at the top than they're at the bottom.
Yeah.
Sure.
Am I just supposed to take your word for it?
No, I mean, that's a known thing. I'll get.
Are you going to show me an article that I've looked up myself and seen that the person is just telling the story?
I wouldn't know what articles you told me. I mean, you can look at. What do you want? Like,
I want a citation where you can give me the schematics where the architects actually logged in that they built it according to. I don't want a story. I don't want you to show me an article where they say what you just said, because that's just hearsay.
I mean, yeah, it's.
It's what? It's what?
Let me just get where I'm going.
See, I would be interested if you want to do some research on the Tidings Bridge, which is the connection over the Susquehanna River in Harford County, Maryland, where that bridge is longer than the Verrazano Bridge, and it's both concrete and steel. And that would be interesting if you could validate whether or not that took into account curvature.
I would have to get. I mean, I've seen the citations before. I would have to get them for you. Okay, I can't.
Sure,
provide,
no, that's okay.
I can't provide this second, but you know, there is lots of things to verify that.
If you wouldn't mind, I'd like you to follow through on it, because I have looked it up, and what I've seen to me is just hearsay. They're just simply telling the same story.
No, cool. I'll get more evidence that is the thing, but if that is true, it's evidence that the Earth curves. So.
Well, no, that's no more evidence than you showing me building schematics that say that we take into account gravity.
Well, how else do you figure out load bearing and stuff without knowing the gravitational acceleration?
Are you I'm not trying to catch you out, but we had this discussion earlier and you asked me about engineering, which I don't have any experience in. So I guess my question to you, Craig, is at what size does a building begin to have to start to take into account gravity?
It depends on the materials in question and the weight above it. I mean, you need.
At what size, Craig? At what size?
That's a very broad question that doesn't have one specific answer. It depends on a myriad of factors.
Okay, can you be generic at all? I mean, does a 3-story house have to take into account gravity?
Do you have to calculate load bearing? Then yes.
Okay, so then does a 2-story house?
If you have to calculate load bearing weights,
okay,
yes.
So then when I asked you the question, what size it has to be, the answer
I don't know a specific. I don't know a specific size. It depends on a myriad of things. It depends on the size of the building.
No,
it depends. Wait. Let me finish.
You're contradicting yourself.
No, I'm not contradicting myself. Let me finish my point before you say I'm contradicting myself.
Why would I want you to continue contradicting?
Because you haven't let me finish my point, so you don't know
if I've contradicted yourself, Craig.
Well, if he maybe something partway through partway through his comment will clarify the perceived contradiction, or the alleged contradiction. So
I don't know. I can't give you a number to say a building has to be this tall before it takes into account gravity, but anything that has to calculate a load bearing weight would have to have gravity as part of the calculations. And that would depend on the building height, the building materials, the amount above, the amount below, the temperature that it's in that could change the how much materials can bend and everything. There's lots of things you have to take into account to actually know what a load bearing amount is. So It's not a question that I can just give you an answer to, but anything that needs a load bearing weight calculated has to take into account gravity.
Okay, so great. Can we focus on that term, load bearing weight?
Yeah.
Okay. So in my opinion, when you say that anything that has to take into account a load bearing weight, and I asked you, does a 3-story house have to take, and you said basically, does it have a load bearing weight? I would say yes, I would guess, because weight is there. So if you take it down to a 2-story house, your question was, does it have a load bearing weight? So in my mind, that is the exclusive qualification for taking into account the effect of gravity or whatever. I don't even know what to say because I don't believe in that shit. But so let's take it down to how small do we have to go? Does a shanty shed back in the backwoods have to take into account gravity when someone puts it together? Because it actually has a roof and it has to bear that load. So does little Johnny boy, when he puts together his shanty, does he calculate for G?
Just a quick,
probably not,
just letting people know that we'll go to Q&A really quick.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Craig.
Probably not, but they probably wouldn't have an agency that would check their architectural work and everything. I mean, there's plenty of stories about shanty towns collapsing and stuff.
Yeah, there's also stories of buildings collapsing as well.
We will go to Q&A in about 2 minutes, folks. So just want to let the speakers know
But
as well.
if you are an architect and you are designing a building, right, which if you're making a shanty town, you probably haven't got an architect designing that, right? But if you're an architect designing a building, you would need to know the gravitational acceleration so that you can calculate the load-bearing structure that you're trying to create. It's simple. It's really not hard.
Okay.
Weight.
I'd
The main point is that weight. One of the things you need to calculate weight is gravity, because weight is mass times the gravitational acceleration.
Right. That's your math. Right. I don't have to calculate gravity for weight. That's incorrect.
Well, that's literally what weight means. Weight
That's
is
literally
mass
what it
times
means
gravity.
in your world.
No, in the world.
No,
not my world. In the
no,
world.
Your world is the world of scientific wizardry, where you have to read.
I'm a wizard, Harry.
You have to redefine terms to match.
No. I don't
your
redefine
model.
terms. These are the terms. It's Flat Earth that needs to redefine terms.
No, we're trying to bring everything back to simplicity and empirical data, and
by changing what terms mean.
No,
like you guys don't even know what
redirecting
level
us-
means, which is
No.
amazing.
Wow. No. When you hold us to the standard of what you consider level meaning, yes, that's correct.
No, I'll
Remember,
go with the dictionary definition of level and stick
that
with
dictionary is incorrect. It's incorrect.
that. Oh, right. So anything's incorrect unless you say so. Cool.
No, that's not what I said. That's
So
straw
do
man.
we just not listen to anything the dictionary says then? Do we
that
not go
is-
to do we not go to
those
the
are
dictionary
red
for
herrings
definition of
because
words?
I'm not making those claims. You are asking questions that
No,
I'm
I'm
not
saying that
making
you guys
claims
don't
of.
know what the word level means.
We know what the word level means because
You
it
disagree
means-
with the dictionary.
Right. We don't assume that the Earth is a sphere. The Earth does not have a core. It doesn't have a radius. So level
That's
has
a
nothing.
claim.
Level. I'm sorry. No, it's not.
It is, because the Earth definitely has a core. Seismology demonstrates that.
Okay.
We've
All right. So if
one of you, whenever you're ready, because it's so hard to do this, if one of you is willing to give the other
I'm
the
ready.
last word, we can jump.
Go ahead,
into
plain
Q&A.
truth. I mean, I'm probably due another shot by now, right?
let me see if I could just. I guess you're allowing me one opportunity to. Am I still sharing?
I can
Yeah.
get your share
I mean,
back
this
on.
is all good stuff for episode 40 of Flirts with Idiots. So.
Okay. So can you see this?
We don't see it yet. I've still.
Yeah, no, you're not sharing it.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Here it comes.
Gotcha.
Okay. It's very simple to understand. This is not complicated. I don't need to construct a mathematical expression of what I see. I can simply use my own words to describe these things. The reason why I cannot see farther on the right side of the panel is because the refractive index is creating an inferior mirage. We can clearly see that we have similar topographical markers that show us that we are looking in the same direction. What we do see as a difference is that this tree line is lower than this tree line. Now, I set up in the same place when I take these observations. It's right next to the same post, so I don't move. I set my it's all the same. So I'm not any higher. So you would think possibly that I'm higher on this observation to the left. I'm not. The other thing that happens with the refractive index is the way that the water is presented to us. It actually looks like it's farther away from us, and I'm higher. Over here, the water is larger, right? To me, it looks like it's closer to me. It looks like I'm lower down to it. And I've had opposition challenge me on this, saying that I am not in the same location because of these very facts. So what I want to, again, close with is that the reason why we have a horizon right here is because of the refractive index. This is not curvature. This happens at every single stage in the distance. I can show you numerous images where this horizon is not here tomorrow. It's up farther away. okay? Or it's closer to me, it's actually larger. Over here on the left, we don't have any inferior miraging at all, so we can see as far as our eyes are able to, and that's pretty darn near the shoreline over there, okay? So is on the left, you see that top blue line? Is that curvature there? Is that curvature? Is that horizon there where the water ends? Is that where the curve is? Or over here where this line is visually, is this where the curve is? Because this is 12 miles away. So there, in your model, there is curvature here somewhere. But see, this is the way the world presents itself to us. This is not curving away. We are looking straight ahead into the distance. The only thing that ever obstructs our ability to see farther is the effects of the ether band, which is the cause of the refractive index. Okay, everything that goes into that, all the numbers you want for temperature, all of that stuff is just simply the medium through which we are looking. Curvature is never due. I'm sorry. Curvature is never, no, obstruction is never due to the curvature of the Earth. It is always, only, and ever will be the result of the effects of refraction.
Thanks so much, gentlemen. It has been a truly fun one. It's been a wild one, an energetic one. I'm going to pull you out of screen share, and then we will jump into all the audience's questions, or I should say, technically, folks, because we do have that one, we can probably only do about an hour of audience Q&A, and then we have to do the should pot be legal debate, which is right after. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, it should.
It's going to be a wild one, and that will have Skylar Fiction and John Maddox. They're going to be debating tonight. You see that on your bottom right of your screen. So with that, jumping right into it, want to say thanks so much, everybody, for all of your questions and comments as well. If you forgive me, there are some that I might, just to try to get through as many questions as possible, I may skip over a few, especially if they're from Steven Steen. It's just something that I have to do.
Oh, I love his. His are the best.
He's a nasty guy. He'll hit on anybody. All right, so we appreciate it, folks. Thanks so much. And by the way, want to remind you that both of our guests have their links in the description. So if you're listening and you're like, man, I'm loving this, well, you can hear plenty more where that came from at their links that I put there in the description for you. All right, thanks.
I do just want to say thank you to PlaneTruth for taking time out from saving the Mushroom Kingdom to debate me. It's very nice of you.
You bet. Now, Schrodinger's cat, thanks for your super chat. They said, is Travis just going to... Travis, some of these people are coming at you, but I know that you've got thick skin. You've been on the internet a while. They say, is Travis just going to go down the list until every Glober destroys him? That seems like the goal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very simple to go through the observations that I have. Again, I've made my point that simply because Craig says I have to measure up to his standards of providing the data that he wants to explain what's very simply explainable with normal language doesn't necessarily mean that that's true.
Gotcha. Thanks very much. Next up, appreciate your super chat from Fohammer335.
What's up, Fohammer?
They say, Flurfs make my brain bleed.
They made my brain sad.
Next up, Scott Lott, thanks for your super chat. They say, PlaneTruth, how high is the Polaris star from the planet, or I'm sorry, the plane of the Earth?
Who knows?
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Fourth Dimensional Jake, appreciate your question. They said, no, James, no. Flat Earth equals bad. It's dumb. Plane. Then, let's see. Gosh. Okay, well, next, thanks so much. Not exactly a flat earther there. C4, thanks for your super chat. They said, fried black swan, anyone? I'm buying... Let's see. I can't tell. The emoticons confuse me. So sorry about that, C4. I'm trying to figure out what there's a missing emoticon for me. But, Movie Theory, thanks so much for your super chat. They say, if you think Earth's a globe, hit like. Very nice. Let's see. Opposer of Religions, thanks for your super chat. They say, my favorite channel, thanks, loving this. Well, all credit to the speakers. I have loved it as well, and so I want to say thanks so much to these guys. It's the speakers that make it fun. So, Sigifredos Rabia, thanks for your super chat. They say, fight the flat earth seriously. Oh, someone coming at you, and it's Sigifredos.
Come on,
say,
bring it on.
do you agree boats disappear bottom up from the shore, or do you disagree with Neil deGrasse Tyson that you can't see curve unless you're 30,000 miles? I think they mean high. And then he says, or do you believe both?
well, Neil deGrasse Tyson isn't a god and gets things wrong. I straight up say he is wrong about his assertion that you can't see curve at like 100,000 feet, because there is many instances where you can. Most of the time you can, but depending on the field of view and the conditions, then you can. So I straight up say that Neil deGrasse Tyson is wrong about that. As for boats disappearing, what I say is boats will appear to disappear bottom up over the apparent horizon.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. And Sigifredo Sarabia with a follow-up. They say, what about car tires on a hot day? Are they past curve?
Oh, does he mean like the wavy bands you see off of like roads? Well, refraction over hot roads is very different to refraction over cold water. So
When you have the same result, how do you know which is different?
well, that's why you need data to determine
No,
that.
you have the same effect. You have the same
Yeah.
effect, Craig.
But that's why you need data to determine what's going on, because then you can mathematically model and say this is what you should be seeing based on the conditions. I understand you don't like data and evidence. That's cool.
Next up, thanks so much, Fargoth92, for your super chat. They say, hey, can't answer if the atmosphere has a gradient. Oh, no, they're saying he can't answer if the atmosphere has a gradient. Next up, they also say, what are your refractive indexes plain wrong? I think that's like a little play on your name there, plain wrong.
What are my refractive indexes?
Yes.
Again, I'm making observations. I'm not making predictions. I don't have to make a prediction with an observation because I'm looking and seeing what I see and simply describing it and offering the contrast of other observations. I don't need to know the details of why I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. Next up, Steven Steen. Thanks for your super chat. He says, is this the weed debate? I honestly can't tell. Nice. MF, thanks for your super chat as well. They say, without the data, your observation is incomplete. F.I. Ding.
Right. And where's the evidence for that? That's just simply a claim.
Thanks so much. Nobody here. Thanks for your super chat. They say, does PlaneTruth have geotag data on his images that proves he was in the same place each time?
That would be an interesting question in terms of whether or not the metadata for the Coolpix P900 has that. So I've not looked into that data.
I do know that it does log in my location, but I think that's just a generic, you're in this vicinity and whatnot. So.
Gotcha. Next up, thanks for your super chat from Gerard Selig. It's probably Gerard Selig. They say, Travis, why are you not driving? In all caps. And then they say, I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Well, everybody needs to take a break. I've got the weekend, so today's my weekend off. Or this weekend is my weekend off.
Nice. Duke Davidson.
Everyone needs time off.
Thanks for your super chat. They say, PlaneTruth, in chemistry, observations come first. We then use math to build the model which carries predictive power. Same with physics. When you invoke physics, math is definitely or definitionally required.
Again, I'm not making predictions, gentlemen or gentle lady, whoever you are. I'm not making a prediction.
Gotcha. Thanks for your answer there. And then Andrew Handelsman, thanks for your super chat. Says, this is you're embarrassing me. You're the best mod, James. You're making me blush. It's not true, but I appreciate you saying that. Always makes me feel good. Jeff Schwartz, thanks for your super chat. They say, is this Nathan Thompson and D Marbles' love child? I don't know who D Marbles is. Is this somebody I haven't met yet?
D Marble, one of the guys that ran away from Team Skeptic.
Oh, okay, gotcha. D Marbles not your dad, is he? PlaneTruth? Okay, never mind.
A brother from another mother.
There'd need some explaining if he was.
MF, thanks for your super chat. They say, Flurf is nice as QE.
Hey, PlaneTruth, why don't you tell everyone what you think about QE? Because that's one thing I agree with you on.
I don't really, I said what I said the other night, and I don't regret it, but I'm not going to slander anybody right now.
I don't feel the need to do that.
Gotcha. Next up, oh, that reminds me. The only reason it made me think of this is because a long time ago, I don't even remember who the debaters were, but I'm going to stick my neck out a little bit for Godless Engineer, because a long time ago I didn't do a great job, and this actually happened to Hovind too. So I can believe that sometimes I make this mistake of I accidentally let one of the speakers badmouth Godless Engineer while he was here, or no, he was not here to defend himself, and I felt bad for it, and so we had a little bit of like tension for a while. But GE, I see sometimes he'll retweet our debates and stuff, and so, which is so kind, because I just, so long story short, I know that sometimes it's, hopefully you have resolution with GE. If there's anybody out there that still has a little bad blood with GE, hopefully that's resolved. Most people probably is, but
I've never had any issues with GE.
yeah, it's I think he's got there's a warmth and a kindness to him that I just hope that, I think that sometimes he also feels, I don't know this for sure, he hasn't said it, but I hope he feels welcome here. And I think 99.9% of people make him feel welcome. Maybe not Steven Steen. You never know with that guy. But next up, Fourth Dimensional Jake, thanks for your super chat. He said, what would have on Flat Earth 2? Really? Why? I'm totally confused by this one. Fourth Dimensional Jake, you might have to help me with that one. Next up, Andrew Handelsman. They asked, how does a sunset work on a flat Earth model?
Oh, interesting question.
Yeah, so the flat Earth model is actually the Earth, right? So we don't have to model anything. We just go outside and observe it. And the sun egresses. It goes away from us.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Next up, appreciate your question from TJ Snape. They asked, by what method can you measure the effects of the Aether band and in what unit?
Oh, come on, guys.
Can you repeat that again, please, James?
No, don't.
They asked, by what method can you measure the effects of the Aether band and in what units?
Yeah,
You're getting drunk now, Travis, aren't you?
So the measurements that I can display are the pictures that I've taken. So I can show you the different levels of the effects of the refractive index when the water seems to be a shorter distance away or a longer distance away. Now, the interesting thing that I've said from the beginning, in order for me to make those kinds of measurements, but in terms of the measurements that I'm making, again, I'm not making predictions. I'm trying to understand the dynamic of the mirage or the refractive index. I would have to have someone out on the water in a boat and have them go as close to where I can see to be the limit of the mirage, and then work the numbers there. But again, that's just a description. So I don't need to quantify anything. I don't need to model anything out. I don't need to mathematically represent anything. I can just simply say what I see on paper.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Next up, Steven Steen, thanks for your super chat, you sicko. He says, over 700 people just watched Craig get flattened. Very nice. Fourth Dimensional Jake, thanks for your super chat. They said, evidence for rotation is evidence for rotation. Science does not prove anything. Only math proves theorems. Flat Earth is either stupid or dishonest. You pick.
It's one of the main things that flat earthers don't seem to understand about the word proof, is that the only place that proof exists is in mathematics. That's the purpose of mathematics. So, it just astounds me every time they say there's proof of flat Earth and then say they don't need to provide maths to back it up, because that's a contradiction in terms.
Gotcha. And we'll give you a chance to respond, of course, PlaneTruth, and we'll jump to the next question.
Yeah, I guess I've drawn this analogy. I did it last week as well, that simply because my interpretation, again, I'm going to segue over to the Bible because it's an apropos analogy. I can get into arguments with Christians who interpret the Bible differently than I do, and they want to hold me to their standards of what biblical interpretation means. Well, if you hold me to your standard, then by all means, I'm going to fail according to your standards. So that's what the nature of debate is. We want to display our reasons for what we say and why we say it, and then the evaluation is which one best comports with the observations or reality as it is. So yes, I am going to disagree with mainstream science. I am going to say that their terminology has been crafted in such a way so that it eliminates any opposition. This has to be exclusively what this means. And if you don't say it this way, you're wrong. Obviously, you're wrong.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. I just saw a Nathan Thompson impersonator in the live chat saying that the Earth is a sphere. I thought, did Nathan change his mind? But it's a fake account. Very funny. Hard X Core Darkness. Thanks for your super chat. They said, this isn't a debate. Bring Matt Dillahunty back. Well, just to let you know, first of all, this was a terrific show. This is honestly really fun. And also, Matt Dillahunty will be back. If you haven't heard, folks, it's in our events list on our YouTube channel now. Matt Dillahunty and David Wood from Act 17 Apologetics, the biggest single individual ran apologetics channel on YouTube. So bigger than Ravi Zacharias' YouTube channel or Frank Turek, and not as big as Apologia Studios, because that's a team though. Doesn't count. Okay, so they're going to debate Christian versus secular humanist ethics, and it's going to knock your socks off. I'm seriously pumped. So anyway, thanks for that super chat. Then we have one from Alan H. Just laying a smackdown, the verbal smackdown on PlaneTruth. They say talking to PlaneTruth is like arguing with a 5-year-old. 5-year-old says, I am right, you are wrong, with no proof. PlaneTruth, do you agree?
Are you sure he wasn't describing the way that Craig responded to the evidence that I was bringing? Nuh-uh, that's not evidence. Nuh-uh.
Evidence.
You guys are so...
Nuh-uh, that's not data.
I just love watching.
Data.
You guys are fun. Kang024, thanks for your super chat. They said oh my goodness. Poor PlaneTruth. I'm sorry, PlaneTruth. Some of these they're coming at you. So
yeah, whatever.
You know what? It's like Wotan gets it worse, if that makes you feel better. They say PlaneTruth is a deluded simpleton. Simpleton, I'm sorry. He's childish, or his childish ramblings on refraction and other atmospheric effects are laughable. Travis, your amateurish attempt at describing the world we see around us is embarrassing.
Well, if you consider simplicity embarrassing, then I guess that's your prerogative. But the world is simple. The world is logical. The world is empirical. And if I'm ever allowed to actually make it through presenting the data that I have, I think that people will be able to simply see that the reason why we see things in front of us is because they're actually there.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. We're going to move quickly. We've got about 29 minutes. So thanks so much. C4, who says, Team Skeptic keeps ignoring me, and I want to know why. Also, great job on our day debate. Thanks for your kind words. And this must be an inside joke. Is C4 a buddy of Team Skeptics?
I don't know.
Huh. Okay. Steven Steen, thanks for
Yes,
your
he is.
Okay,
Sorry.
gotcha. Steven Steen responds by saying, C4 has a restraining order to stay away from Team Skeptic. Very nice. Gerard Selig, thanks for your super chat. They said, you ignored my super chat. I totally read it. So they say, never mind. All I want is a wrench. I promise not to misuse it. Thank you. Thanks so much for helping us moderate. Appreciate that. All of you out there. You guys do a great job. We're pretty maybe sometimes not even for our own good, because I know YouTube has stricter rules. We usually only ban or delete hate speech. Sometimes we'll ban spam as well, but it's got to be pretty bad spam. But thanks for all of you moderators. Kang024, thanks for your super chat. They say, Travis, before debating someone with an education, would you not think it prudent to learn some stuff so you don't embarrass yourself? I guess that's part of being an arrogant, deluded, and educated. PRICK.
Yeah, having an education does not qualify or disqualify you from being able to assess and evaluate reality. So while I might not know terms, while I might not know standards according to particular fields, if I was having a conversation with someone who wasn't familiar with biblical studies but had an opinion about the Bible, there's no way I would ever castigate the fact that they aren't educated like me. You don't have a degree in my field. No, they can have a conversation. They can use their common sense. Now, they might be wrong, but that's where the discussion happens. So just because it's not my field doesn't mean I can't evaluate and assess reality.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Persier1, hopefully I'm saying that right, who asked, Fight the Flat Earth, is the concave chick coming after?
No, unfortunately, she doesn't want to come back on the internet due to some disparaging comments against her, which is a shame because she was one of the best guests I've had on the channel. I'm going to try and get her back on, but only if you guys promise to be nice.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Next up, P. Barnes, thanks for your super chat. They said, thank you, PlaneTruth, but our princess is in another castle. Ooh. Wasn't that a meme? I can't remember. I had seen that before.
It's a Mario joke.
Okay, gotcha. G1 sound. Oh, I get it. Okay, gotcha. G1 Soundwave. The PlaneTruth, please go back to school. Oh my gosh. Some of these I'm like, oh no. PlaneTruth, I'm like, if you can respond if you want.
I mean, it's not worth responding to. I mean, these are stupid little hand grenades that they're lobbing, and they're faceless keyboard warriors. Whatever.
Next up, appreciate your super chat from G1 Soundwave, who says, oh, wait, we just read that one. That's embarrassing. Okay. Jackalope Herdmaster, thanks for your super chat. They said, good show. Congrats on the win. Fight the Flat Earth. You got a fan out there, fight.
Boom.
Stupid Whore Energy strikes again. Glad to see you again. She says, why doesn't the angular size of the sun change throughout the day?
Why should it?
Because it moves towards and away from you.
That's simply drawing a conclusion about something that you might not have enough information on.
No, it's an empirical fact that if things get further away, they look smaller.
Yeah, on Earth, yeah. But that the sun is in the sky, so there's different characteristics and conditions up there that we don't know about.
I mean, it changes the laws of physics, does it?
You don't have. Do you have a law of physics on what goes on up in the atmosphere and how?
Yes, we do.
Uh-huh.
Lots of them. Fluid dynamics is an extremely good one that tells you what goes on in the atmosphere. But anyway.
Right, so those fluid dynamics can affect the appearance of the sun. And if you're not able to test or evaluate those, then that could be a cause for which you don't have an explanation because you can't get up there and test those things. So yeah, I agree. There's something up there that because it's not on the ground, it's not going to behave the same way things do on the ground.
Next,
you can't simply extrapolate. You can't simply extrapolate
that you think that the sun should behave the same way a Mack truck or a mountain does because you get closer or farther away to it.
What you just said is one of the most insanely dumbest things I've ever heard. Everyone watching this stream is now dumber for listening to that.
Wow, did you just make that up? That's very, very clever.
No, I paraphrased.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Gotcha. Next up, thanks so much for your super chat. Next one is from Chris Gilroy. Appreciate it. They say, to PlaneTruth, how can you invent a term like Aether Band but not have a unit or a formula or a way for others to back up your assertions?
And where is your evidence that I have to meet that standard?
Gotcha. Thanks very much. And G1...
And it's not magic.
Gotcha, and thanks so much. G1 Soundwave strikes again. I haven't even read this, but I have a feeling based on their last one. The last one was that one, that pretty abusive one. They say also fight the flat Earth. Oh, this is okay. So, nope. Okay, they say fight the flat Earth. Way to take PlaneTruth to the woodshed. So you got a fan out there, fight. And
thank you, sir.
It's true that I read these in a way that I put a little mustard on them when I say them out loud. I'm just trying to communicate how I think that they were saying that in the super chat. I would do it fairly though. You know, if there's one that was as barbed toward fight, I would still do that. So I'm not trying to be hard on PlaneTruth. He's been a good sport. It's not easy. You got to give him, appreciate it. So Mitch Gardner, thanks for your super chat. They say the PlaneTruth, you was wrong about the horizon in the pic on the right. You can see mirroring further up.
Well, obviously, if you want to maybe come on my channel after this show, we can pull up the picture and you can point it out to me. I'd be interested in looking at it.
Gotcha. Next up, thanks for your super chat from Mitch Gardner, who says, the plain truth. Oh, no, we just read that. That's okay. John Good says, confirmation bias here by atheists and others. If you want to respond to that, you may fight.
What did he say? Sorry.
They said, confirmation bias here by atheists and others.
Confirmation bias has nothing to do with empirical data.
Gotcha. Thanks so much, folks. Let's see. I think we do have a time to read a couple of the standard questions as well. We've gotten through the super chat. So Spart344, thanks for your question. They asked, a question for plain truth. At what level have you studied the physics of optics and wavelengths?
What's the reason why I need to do that to make the observations I'm making?
Understand them.
Again, again, I'm not making predictions.
Gotcha. Appreciate it. And let's see here. Next up, appreciate your super chat. Or this is a question. Oh, we did have a super chat just come in. 1 second. Let me pull this up. Thanks for your super chat from Chris Gilroy, who said, plain truth. So you say a thing. Thus, I think they're saying, so because you say a thing, we have to believe you?
Well, no, you don't have to believe me, but it would be interesting to have an actual healthy discussion where we walk through the observations and talk through the processes.
And that was in their reference to their Aether band question, namely, like, what units do you use?
James!
Gotcha. Next up, thanks for your question. La Cerveza Mas Films, appreciate it. They say, ask plain truth how seasons work on a flat Earth, taking into consideration the sun never changes angular size, nor does it speed up or slow down as it traverses the sky.
Right. So 2 observations, I guess. 1, we have seasons, and 2, we make an observation about the sun during those seasons. Okay. There you go. You just why can't you guys just see the world and just appreciate?
Because there's more complicated than that.
It doesn't have to be. Why you guys make it complicated? Make it complicated.
James, let me ask you a question. What happens when I turn on the light switch?
This is a complete red herring.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant because what happens when you turn on the light switch is the light comes on. It's not as simple as that. There is more to it.
Are the seasons a light switch?
That's not the point. You're claiming
it's
that
irrelevant.
We have to.
It has no relevance.
No, it has relevance to your statement about look at the world in the simplest way, because that's a silly thing to do. Because if I look at the world in the simplest way,
you're talking about something that has been constructed by a human being.
Let me finish my point. If I look at the world in the simplest way, that means that if I turn on the light switch, the light comes on, and that's all there is to it. But no, there is more to it.
You are now talking about something that has been manufactured by a human being.
Irrelevant.
It's not the same.
Irrelevant. It's irrelevant because
your point is irrelevant.
My point is that things are more complicated than just looking at them and making deductions.
Irrelevant.
We are going to read one last super chat. This has just come in from Stupid Whore Energy, as she likes to call herself. We have another one from John Good as well. She says, predictions are important in that it shows that you are on the right track in understanding reality.
Okay. Again, where is your evidence that I need to make a prediction about something that I simply see? Okay, here's my prediction. If there is a high level of refraction, we will not see as far as we would like. But if there is a low level of refraction, we will see farther. There you go.
Gotcha. Next up, appreciate it, from John Good, who says, confirmation bias by atheists and something lovers. So they, again, are asserting that. I think it's similar to their last one. And then G1 Soundwave, thanks for your super chat. They said, fight the flat earth brings evidence. Flurfs bring an arsenal of nuh-uh.
Nuh-uh.
Thank you very much. Folks, it's
Well
been
done.
a true pleasure. I am putting the link. We've got to get ready for the next debate. Otherwise, I honestly would love to party here all night because this is always fun. I am putting the link for the next debate, which is coming on in 18 minutes, with Skylar Fiction and John Maddox. John Maddox says that marijuana should be illegal, that you shouldn't be able to smoke it in your own private household even. So if you want
Like me.
to, you can check out on that debate. I feel like it's like a news anchor provocateur. So Just Laughing, thanks for your super chat, just came in. They said, the plain truth, having ranty flat earth coaching you via chat on your channel during the debate did not help you, just saying. So they're coming at you again.
I interacted with Ranty. Just I didn't do anything that he said. I don't even know what he said. So, whatever.
Gotcha. So thanks so much, folks. Hopefully, if you are insulted by John Maddox, who says you should not be able to smoke marijuana in your own private residence, well, then we'll see you at the next debate. That should be a lively one. So thanks, everybody, for being here, and we hope you keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. One last thanks to our guests. Thanks so much, Fight and Plain Truth.
Pleasure.
Until next time.
Their links are in the description. Take care.